All parties in the matter of Mintier versus Mintier, step forward, please.
22-year-old Catherine Mintier is suing her mother-in-law, Melissa Mintier, for unpaid loans to buy a dress and to pay for a plane ticket to New York.
Miss Mintier, this is your mother-in-law.
Yes, that is correct.
And according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to her?
Yes.
She hasn't paid you back.
That is correct.
Your mother-in-law, she says, well, you're her daughter-in-law, so you're supposed to help her out. And then she said that you had her son arrested for domestic violence, so she's not paying you back any money.
Oh, okay.
She's wrong.
Right.
When did you have her son arrested?
I didn't have her son arrested.
Was he arrested?
He was arrested. I did not have him arrested.
Was there a domestic violence incident?
No. No domestic violence actually occurred, though that was the allegation.
Well, tell me why she thinks she would blame you for having him arrested.
Because anytime anything happens with her son, it's my fault.
Where's her son?
Her son is right here.
That would be you?
Yes, so in her eyes, so he couldn't do anything wrong.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he doesn't look like an angel. How many times have you been arrested?
That would be...
Stand up when you talk to me.
That would be my first time being arrested.
For what?
I was arrested for the domestic violence, but...
Domestic violence on whom?
My wife, I guess.
Well, what happened, sir?
We got into an argument, and I don't know, some issues just came up, and I got a claim filed against me, and I ended up getting pulled over at McDonald's or something like that, and they pulled up a warrant that I actually had outstanding.
A warrant for what?
The domestic violence charge that I was given from Pataskala.
And you were quickly let go?
Yeah, I stayed one night in county and was released.
Are you living together now?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I worked for her father as a chimney sweep. My previous job before that was at Circle K, but I actually quit that so I could stay home and take care of the children.
Whose children?
Her children, but yeah.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
1.5 and 6.
6-year-old is your child?
No, neither of them are mine.
I didn't ask you anything. Parents don't borrow from children. Children take, parents give. Who do you work for?
I don't. I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
Mental.
How long have you been receiving disability?
About 10 years.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
18 and 5.
Well, your mental disability didn't impair you from having another child. Do you take medication for your disability?
Yes, I do.
Were you taking medication when your 5-year-old was born?
Yes, I was.
Is your 5-year-old normal?
Yes, he is.
Where is his father?
At work right now, I would assume. He's in the picture.
Does he live with you?
No.
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much money did you take from your daughter-in-law?
Well, I don't really feel that I owe her anything.
I didn't ask you what you feel. I'm not interested in what you feel. People who work for disability care about what you feel, Miss Mintier. I do not. I asked you how much money you took from your daughter-in-law.
I didn't take anything. She gave it to me.
One gives and one takes. Do you understand?
She assisted me with my rent.
I didn't ask you that.
$500 for my rent.
Good. That's one of the things that you took from her. $500 for your rent. What else did you take from her?
She purchased me a dress for the wedding.
How much was that?
It was actually a number of things that we bought at the bridal store that we did settle on the amount of $200 that she would pay me back.
When did you settle on the amount at the bridal store?
When we'd made the purchase.
Is that what she spent on her dress?
It was actually over that. As I'm sure she'll tell you, my dog ate a pair of her shoes one time, so the bill was actually more than $200, but to compensate for that, we settled on the amount of $200.
What else did you give her?
The airfare. She wanted to travel to see a friend, so
What kind of friend?
One of her friends, I guess, from New York.
Male or female?
Oh, a male.
Why did you go to New York to visit a friend?
To get away.
Where was your 5-year-old?
He was at home.
With whom?
With my son. Was watching him.
Son works.
At the time, he was not. That's one of the times he was living with me back and forth between her house and mine.
How much was the airfare?
$263, I think.
So what you're telling me is your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, they weren't even living together, gave you money so that you could go and visit a boyfriend in New York? Is that what you're telling me? Just a second. I want to understand this. You said your son was estranged from his wife because he was living with you, so he was there to take care of your 5-year-old. And your daughter-in-law, from whom your son was estranged, I assume for good reason, according to you, gave you as a gift money so that you could go and have a good time in New York.
It was their fault I was stressed.
No, madam. It's your fault that you're stressed.
She took my son from me. Everything.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she does have a mental disability. I'm not sure. How old are you?
18.
And how old are you?
22.
Your mother has a personality disorder. I don't know about a mental disability that prevents her from working. She can certainly travel to see a boyfriend. She can certainly make a baby and take care of a baby. So as far as mental disability is concerned, I think the only people who have a disability are the people who decided that she deserves disability. That's not what I'm here to make a decision about. You have to make a judgment. You got married?
Yes.
You plan on staying married?
Yes.
Good. First of all, this is a court. It's not a basketball court. So when you come to court, you look like an adult. You don't dress like a baby. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're dressing like a baby to come to court.
I apologize.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to wear in your wardrobe?
Yes, I do.
Well, then you should have worn it. You owe your daughter-in-law $963. Pay it!
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was really hurt. She didn't give me a chance to explain anything.
Well, I'm just glad that she realized that the money was rightfully owed to me, and, I mean, she made the right decision.
I am impartial in the case, but I knew she was in the wrong.
He's too young. They're too young. She has 2 kids, period.
Maybe she is not good enough for her son.
He's my baby.
My mom has always been overbearing and over-controlling.
I don't see him as much. He doesn't get to come around as much.
It goes back and forth. You know, one minute she wants to be nice about it, the next minute, you know, she wants to stab us in the back.
I'm just not happy.
I'm just done with it.
I want my son back.
Friends.
Yes, they used to.
Well, you say that they didn't treat him nicely, and they used him for rides and stuff when they needed him.
Right, Your Honor.
But at some point, according to you, this young man posted some very, very rude things about you
Right, Your Honor.
on something called MySpace.
Right, Your Honor.
MySpace is one of these internet sites where people who have nothing better to do with their time go and chat about a whole bunch of nonsense.
Right, Your Honor.
Is that about what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that about right?
Right.
That's about right.
You know, I always said that we could eliminate probably 1/3 of the problems in this country if people actually had to shovel coal in a furnace for heat rather than spending all that spare time that they have making problems for other people and sitting behind their computers doing things other than for which computers were originally designed. Mr. Luna says, First Amendment. I can post anything I like on the internet because there's free speech in this country. That is your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you think the Constitution says, Mr. Luna?
Well, first of all,
I didn't ask you first of all. That required a yes or a no answer, sir. Is that what you think the Constitution says? That
Yes.
you can
Yes, Your Honor.
say anything you want to about anybody?
on certain grounds, yes. But I believe that I didn't write anything that really damaged her reputation as she claimed.
All right. Well, then let's see what you said, because I had no clue about what you said here. First, Mr. Luna, since there is no issue, sir, that you posted these things about Mrs. Mendelssohn on this internet site, I'd like to know why you did it.
Okay. Well, it all started when myself is
the same person,
Yes,
I
know.
assume, unless you're bipolar.
Me and my friends were talking just online, just joking while we were waiting for our classes. And then we just talked about certain stupid things, I know. And then...
You talked about stupid things while you were waiting for change of classes in college?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, we were online.
Who's paying for your school?
My father.
Your father is paying for you to
Yes.
be in school and talk about stupid things with you. Is that what you think you're paying for, sir?
Not really.
Good, perfect. Love to hear it. You and I are going to get along just fine. Go ahead.
Well, we were just waiting for our classes because I
don't care why you were waiting for your classes. I asked you why you said bad things about Mrs. Mendelssohn.
Well, it was just to relieve our stress and frustrations.
Why don't you
from
get a
her.
job?
Well, I had school. I'm a full-time college student.
Well, then why are you writing about Mrs. Mendelssohn to relieve your stress?
Because beforehand, she was making comments about us, me and my friends, specifically.
Oh, on the internet?
No, like to her son.
So she was having a private conversation with her son about you and your friends?
Yes, and then...
She's allowed to do that?
Yes, but it was very rude and very untrue. And she assumed many things, and she would tell him...
Who cares? Who cares what she assumed? She's having a private conversation with a child. She's not publishing anything. Let me see what you wrote about her.
I have it right here.
Did your father see it?
Yes,
When did you show it to him?
about a month ago.
When did you write it?
October 26th.
So why did you wait so long to show your father?
Well, because number one, I was trying to handle my own business, and then the month after October 26th, I actually forgot about the conversation, because that is a conversation between me and Derek.
You know what I find most distressing about this, Mr. Luna, is that you're illiterate, and so is your friend, and that your family is wasting a whole lot of money sending you to college and getting an illiterate person at the end. Mr. Luna?
Can I say something, Your
Mr.
Honor?
Luna, did you read this?
Yes, Your Honor. I read it lately, Your Honor.
Stand up, sir.
May I say something about the case, Your Honor?
No, you may say nothing about the case, sir. You may answer my questions. First of all, Mrs. Mendelson, I have just read this.
Yes.
Okay? This is not actionable, which means that you can sue, but you're not going to win. What is written here, if I can read it,
Yes,
because
Your Honor.
it looks like it's written by somebody who was educated in some third world country where they only go up to kindergarten. Watch what? W-A-T? You say about her, cuz, C-U-Z, she might come to your house, Y-R, and do crazy, and that's a bad word, I'll leave that out, like castrating you and sewing I'll use a different word, testicles back on backwards and sewing your foot and you with it. Okay? It's stupid. Do you know what? That's what you're complaining about, right?
Yes,
Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to me. I didn't know what he had said about you. What he said about you was stupid. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody's thinking you're going to come to somebody's house and you're going to do that to them. He's just being stupid. So it doesn't even amount to free speech. It amounts to the rantings of some juvenile who's just being dumb. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I was really upset because...
Well, I can understand you were upset, but
I'm
that's
not
not
an
actionable.
immoral
Now,
person.
was this young man your friend, Mr. Luna?
Yes, we were very close.
You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was jokingly.
Well, it's not an answer, sir. You say if you were very, very close. Why do you say bad things about him in here?
It's friendly banter between us. That's what we do.
Who was bantering here? Not him.
Well, it's between me and...
No. Between you and him.
Yes.
Not you and him. You weren't bantering with each other, calling each other funky names. You were bantering with him, and you were making fun of him. Mr. Luna, that makes you not a very nice person when you say he was a friend of mine.
Yes, but all of us are friends. We do the same things to each other. But
Does he have a car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
No.
Who drove you around?
Well, sometimes Irving drives me around, sometimes my friend recently. But it's not like I'm...
It's not like you're using him or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
And later today,
Had a court date you don't remember? What kind of court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anita Mendelson claims her son's former friend, Christian Luna, slandered her on the internet. Christian says he has the right to free speech.
Mr. Luna, your son did a disrespectful thing, but not actionable. So you don't have to worry. He doesn't have to pay Mrs. Mendelson any money. I don't know if he's a nice young man or not a nice young man. Only you know that.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
He's a nice young man. In fact, he helped Irving in his religion class, and he's kind of mentoring this guy. I mean, they were friends, Your Honor, and it all started...
Did you read this?
Yeah, I know, I read it. But it all started when Mrs. Mendelson tried to blame my son and his friends that they are using drugs.
Yes.
And she's trying to, separate his son from these guys who are nice people. I just don't know why Mrs. Mendelson is so mad at my son.
Maybe you want to tell me, Mrs. Mendelson?
The truth, Your Honor, is that I never said that they're using drugs. It was a lie. What I told my son is that because I saw a lot of this abuse from Christian sending all those messages against him, and I told my son, stop giving him a ride and transfer to other school. And I didn't mention anything about drugs. You're wrong.
Who told you that Mrs. Mendelson accused you of using drugs?
Her son.
He told you?
Yes.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not in exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly, Irving?
Well, she said that she doesn't want me hanging around people who do drugs.
Okay, so?
And in that sense, that's what I said to Christian.
But she never accused Christian of doing drugs? No. That's your answer, Mr. Luna. What else?
I would just like to clear something out. I didn't use Irving. Don't just randomly call him and like, oh, can you give me a ride to this so-and-so place? I would ask him a ride if we were going there together. But I've never used them just
Christian, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Having access to a machine like a computer and access to a place like MySpace where you can say very damaging and hurtful things doesn't mean that you should use it. When you write something like this, even though it sounds asinine, juvenile, and stupid, it was still hurtful to Mrs. Mendelson. It's not the kind of thing that the courts will take action about, but it's the kind of things that you shouldn't write about one person because it's just unkind. And you can't hide behind the cloak of anonymity when you do that because it's out there for millions and millions and millions of people to read. And it's hurtful. And I say this to you and to your friends and to you and anybody else who uses the internet. Once you put something down and go send, or whatever you do, because I don't use that machine, it's out there, and it's out there forever, and it's hurtful. You have to be careful. Now, what your son said about her was unkind.
I know that, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you tell him he did the wrong thing? Tell him to apologize to her?
In fact,
say, shh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mendelson.
Okay.
That's it.
Just don't do it again, ever.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I agree with Judge Judy that what I wrote is obscene.
I just hope he will stop the abuse towards my son now.
And I agree that it was offensive.
And there came a time that your former wife remarried, and she approached you with the idea of asking you to relinquish your parental rights, allowing her husband to adopt your child, a girl, in exchange for forgiving the arrears that you owed her in child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
You decided that that would be a good idea.
After a period of time, yes, Your Honor.
And did, in fact, go to court and relinquish your parental rights.
I didn't go to court. I just went to the lawyer and signed off on the papers.
When did you do that?
I believe it was approximately June of 2005.
So your parental rights were terminated?
Yes, after the adoption was finalized.
Your claim is the state is now coming against you for the $3,800 that you owed in back child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say that they're doing that despite the fact that you had an agreement with Miss Johnson.
Yes.
So you want the $3,800 because lots of bad things have happened to you. Like what, sir?
I've lost my driver's license and my source of income. I'm unable to find work right now.
What kind of work did you do?
I'm a truck driver by trade.
Ms. Johnson says you never had a contract with her.
Correct.
When was this arrearage accumulated?
It started occurring when we'd separated before the divorce, and it had gone on and off when I'd get laid off in the wintertime and was unable to make payments through my unemployment until I got back to work and started paying again.
How many children did you have?
I have one with him.
And how many others?
2 others.
How old are they?
They are now 22 and 20.
So this was the only minor child?
Correct.
And what kind of work were you doing when you separated?
I was working, I'm not certain, ma'am.
Were you ever receiving any sort of public assistance?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
When?
When we separated in 95.
And how long were you receiving welfare?
Till September of 96, I believe. I'm not certain.
Subsequent to 1996, and you say you're not certain, so it could have been longer.
Or shorter.
Or shorter. Subsequent to that, were you ever receiving any sort of public assistance again?
Yes.
When?
I don't recall the date, but I was receiving daycare assistance when I was working.
And how much child support were you paying, Mr. Strand, when you were paying it?
It started out at $200 a month, and through cost of living increases, it had gone up every 2 years. The last time that it got increased, it went up to $404 every month.
Now, were you aware of the fact that your wife at that time and your daughter were receiving welfare?
I was aware of the fact that they were getting daycare assistance, yes.
Well, at some point she was getting welfare, and at some point she was getting daycare assistance, which is also another form of public assistance. And was it at that time that you were paying $200 a month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you always paying the $200 a month, or was that during the period of time when you were laid off? seasonally.
I always paid it when I was working, and when I would get laid off or when I was in between jobs, I wasn't paying it. But when I did get back to work, I always made a point to either contact the county or my ex-wife or both right away to let them know where I was working so that it could continue to be collected.
You understand, Mr. Strand, that this is your problem. Even if I believe that you had an agreement with your former wife that she would forgive the arrearages, she can't bind the state with regard to the arrearages. And if this $3,800 bill accumulated at a time when your daughter was receiving any sort of assistance, whether it be daycare or regular public assistance, she can't forgive that money.
Your Honor, there was a separate amount that was owed to the state and an amount that was owed to my ex-wife as the custodial parent. The part that was owed to the state has already been taken care of a long time ago.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
That was taken care of when I filed bankruptcy last October. It was a sum of $1,100, and I was able to put that onto my bankruptcy. So the $3,800...
So the state's never been paid?
No, the state was paid while I was paying child support. So much would go to my ex-wife, and so much would go towards what was owed to the state.
I thought you said that money was discharged in bankruptcy.
Not all of it, just what was owed at the time that I filed my bankruptcy. Yes.
So the state did not get their $1,100. You just tried to discharge in bankruptcy.
Yes.
Why didn't you add this money?
Because you're not allowed in the state of Minnesota to discharge
child support
until it gets turned over to your ex-wife or to collections as a debt owed.
Now, why, Miss Johnson, do you think that your former husband obeyed his parental rights?
Your Honor, I believe that he looked at her as a dollar sign, and he was never keeping employment nor paying his bills, and he just felt that this was an easy way to get out of his obligation.
Well, you asked him to do that.
I suggested it, yes.
No, you asked him to do that. You approached him. He wouldn't think about that. You approached him. And what did you say when you approached him?
I just said that you are not being a very good father. My husband is willing to adopt our daughter. If you sign over your rights, I will consider it.
Consider what?
That I could sign off. If it was...
if it was what?
If I was able to.
If you were able to what?
Sign it off.
Sign what off?
The back child support.
Well, why can't you? If the state's been paid, you can sign off the back child support.
Because I don't choose to.
But you made an agreement to do that, madam.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did. You did. Because I don't believe that under those circumstances he would have gone to your lawyer. By the way, who paid his lawyer?
I don't know, ma'am.
I didn't have a lawyer, Your Honor.
Whose lawyer did you go to?
Mine.
I went to her lawyer to sign.
Oh, so you went to her lawyer?
Yes.
Made an appointment for him to go to see your lawyer?
He made an appointment, yes.
Who you paid?
Yes.
Miss Johnson, I don't believe you. And I have to make a judgment. You want to try to convince me that you didn't make an agreement with him and not give me this answer? I choose not to? Come on.
He was just not paying his child support, Your Honor.
So you said to him, I'll forgive your child support if you sign over your parental rights.
No, I did not. I said my husband has an interest in being my daughter's father, and if you would sign off, he says, could we then forgive that child support? And I said, we'll talk about it. But
no, I don't believe that. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
You want to know something? You're a scammer. I don't know how you got Social Security disability. At age 47, I know people who were 67 with...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Strand claims ex-wife Marilyn Johnson owes for back child support that she agreed to forgive. Rick says the state is coming after him for the money.
So, the two of you signed an agreement when you came here. It was a binding arbitration. Is that correct?
Yes.
I will draft an order to the state. What state?
State of Minnesota.
That I have determined after a hearing that you agreed to vacate any child support arrears that were owing to you in exchange for him to terminate his parental rights and allow your husband to adopt the child. That is my finding. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please excuse. You may step out. Sir, wait here. Sir.
He was just looking at our daughter as a dollar sign.
That upsets me greatly.
And he was trying to get out of his obligation of being a father.
I've always been a good father.
It's another one of his lies.
Well, I've already signed off on my parental rights.
Kelly Babert claims former friends Heather and Mary Wilson have been harassing her. Kelly says the harassment started after she was stabbed by one of Heather's friends.
Now, it's case number 47 on the calendar, the matter of Johnston Barbera versus Wilson. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Johnson?
Yes.
This is your daughter.
Yes.
Your daughter was the victim of very serious assault.
Yes.
When did that take place?
June 3rd of '05.
She was stabbed. Is that right? It is your claim that these two young ladies, one of them was involved in the stabbing, and since the perpetrator of the crime was arrested, both of them have engaged in a course of conduct that amounts to serious harassment of Kelly. And since their mother has not been responsible in seeing to it that they behave themselves, you want her to be responsible now and pay the damages. Ms. Wilson says her daughters were in no way involved in this and have not, in fact, been harassing your daughter. That's your defense. Is that right?
My daughters were not involved in the stabbing, no.
Okay. Who's Heather? Everybody can sit down except Heather. No, you stay there.
Oh, okay.
When did the stabbing take place, Heather?
June 3rd.
Was it a school day or not a school day?
It was a school day.
Who were you with after school?
I didn't go to school. I was sick that day.
But you didn't stay home.
I did stay home.
No, you didn't. You didn't stay home all day. Listen to me. Let's understand something. I don't care what you told your mother. I don't care what you told the police. I don't care what you told anybody. We're going to have a truthful conversation here. Otherwise, it's going to be very unpleasant for you. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the name of the girl who stabbed Kelly is what?
Michelle Brooker.
Otherwise known as?
Shelly Brooker.
And she is a friend of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet her on June the 3rd? What time?
I don't know exactly what time it was.
Morning or afternoon?
It was afternoon.
Did she come to your house or did you go to her house?
I didn't go to her house. We met up.
Met where?
At the corner store.
How did you know to meet her at the corner store?
She called me and asked her to meet her there.
What did she say to you when she called you?
She said that her and Kelly were going to begin in a fight, and I said, okay, and she asked me to meet her there, and I met her there.
She said she and Kelly, this young lady,
Yes,
is going to be in a fight, and she wanted you to meet her there for what reason?
I guess to get in a fight.
So you met her at the corner store. Who else was there?
Just me and her.
And where did you go?
To the park.
Who was in the park?
Datrion, Cameron.
Who's Datrion?
My friend.
Who else?
Cameron, my friend. Chris.
Chris? Who was Chris?
My friend.
Are you tired?
Yes, ma'am. And Marquis.
Who was Marquis?
My friend.
And Shelley?
And a whole bunch of other people that I didn't know.
Where was Kelly?
There.
With whom?
With all of them.
And what about Shelley? Were they Shelley's friends as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Uncross your hands. What happened when you got to the park?
They were yelling back and forth.
Stop moving. Who was yelling back and forth?
Kelly and Shelley.
What happened?
Well, I saw Heather and Shelley walking, and then they sat down like by the bleachers by us, and they were just talking for a little bit, and then we started yelling.
What were you yelling?
Just like we were just calling each other names, and
who were you calling names?
Shelley, and it was going back and forth.
Why were you unhappy with Shelley, and why was Shelley unhappy with you?
We didn't get along. Like we just never really. I didn't really know her. Like I wasn't friends with her. It was just kind of an acquaintance.
Were you in the park intending to fight that day?
Yeah.
Who had called you?
Well, I was over at Chris's house with those people that she named off, and I can't remember if Chris called Shelley, but they were talking on the phone, and then plans kind of happened.
Plans kind of happened to have a fight?
Yes.
So you all go to the park to have a fight. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's why you're there as well, correct? Yes, did you have any weapon?
No.
Did you have any weapon?
Nope.
But Shelley had a weapon. When for the first time did you see Shelley's weapon?
When she pulled it out.
And where was she when she pulled it out?
Right next to Kelly, fighting her.
And what did she pull out?
Switchblade, I think.
Switchblade. And what did she do with the switchblade?
Stab Kelly.
How many times?
5, I think. That's what I heard.
Well, you were standing right there.
I was at distance, but I was there, yeah.
And after she stabbed Kelly 5 times, what did you do?
Left.
Who did you leave with?
Nobody. By myself.
Who called an ambulance for her?
I don't know.
Why didn't you?
Because I didn't want to go to jail.
Go to jail for what?
Because they would have thought that I was part of it.
Oh, you think so?
I thought so.
You think so?
I was scared. I was only 13. I didn't know that was going to happen.
Well, who called an ambulance for her?
I have no idea. I left.
But you did know one thing, madam. You knew that Shelley had committed a vicious assault. And as far as you could tell that day, she might have been dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
When did Shelley come to your house?
It's not for...
No. When did Shelley... Look at me. When did Shelley come to your house?
Like a month after, weeks after.
Are you telling me that you didn't speak to Shelley between June 3rd
I spoke to her.
And where was she when you spoke to her?
Over the phone, not in...
Where was she when you spoke to her?
She didn't tell me.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. If your mother believes you, then she wants to believe you. I don't believe you. Because a 13-year-old girl says, where are you? The police are looking for you.
She said, I don't want the police to know, and so I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Did you call the police and tell the police that you had been receiving phone calls from her?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I don't know.
Why not?
I don't know.
And when did she come to your house?
Months afterwards. You can ask my mother.
You mean, I'm not asking your mother, I'm asking you. Does your mother work?
Yes, ma'am.
She's out of the house Monday through Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there. She doesn't know what's going on in the house when she's not there, and she doesn't know whether Shelley came to the house, you gave her food, you gave her money, you gave her clothes. She doesn't know any of that. I know it.
Well, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did. The same way you walked away, leaving her to bleed to death, is the same way that you helped your friend Shelley, because you went there to fight at your friend Shelley's request. That's why you went there.
I didn't go to fight.
Then you should have stayed home, because according to you,
Yes,
you
ma'am, I
didn't go to
should have.
school because you were sick. Now, when your mother came home, did you tell her what happened?
No, ma'am.
No, because you were supposed to be home, so you lied to her. Again, right?
Yes.
How long did you lie to your mother?
I didn't keep making up lies, but until...
Well, when for the first time did you tell your mother that you had been there and witnessed a stabbing?
When the detective showed up at my house.
That's right. So until then, you kept lying to your mother.
Well, I just didn't tell.
How long were you hospitalized?
For like a week.
Where were you stabbed?
My stomach, both my arms, my back, and my leg.
What kind of a sentence was imposed on Shelley?
She got 2 years. I don't remember what if it was first-degree assault.
She's incarcerated for 2 years?
Yeah.
How old is she?
I think she's a year younger than I am.
How old are you?
17.
She's still incarcerated?
Yeah, she gets out in November.
Did she go to trial?
Yes.
She went to trial. What was her defense? I'm curious.
She said that it was self-defense.
Self-defense. Where was the other knife?
It wasn't.
That's why she was convicted. Now, it is your claim that these two young ladies have been harassing you. And as a matter of fact, you have protective orders. I want you to tell me when the first incident of harassment started.
Well, I can't remember which one was first or whatever, but there was like a whole bunch of stuff off MySpace and just writing back and forth. And Mary was just like talking about she's too old to fight me or whatever, but she has other people that will. And
when did she say that to you?
She wrote it on MySpace.
Can I see it, please?
I'm going to give you the police report also that verified it, because when we went to print that out, we were out of printer ink, and she took it off immediately after, but we have 3 of the different things here.
How old are you?
20.
Is there something wrong with you?
No.
Why did you even communicate at all with her?
The reason that I communicated with her was on MySpace, like she had said was true. But through a friend of ours, there's a picture of my daughter on his MySpace, or there was. I couldn't print it out because he deleted the picture, but she said that my baby was ugly.
So what?
And you can't delete male messages off MySpace to show others.
You just told me that you communicated with her.
On a phone
Why
call,
would...
but I didn't communicate on a MySpace message.
Well, what did you say to her?
I was calling her a whole bunch of names and told her that she should have kept mine and my kid's name out of her mouth. And I did say that she's lucky that I was too old to beat her up. But I never said that I had friends that could beat her up or anything like that.
Actually, it says it right here that...
Can I see it, please?
Yeah.
She called the house the same evening. She emailed, and then later that night, Kelly and I both answered the phone.
You called again between 8:30 and 9 p.m.
That's the only time I called her.
Shelley didn't kill you when she stabbed you, but I will?
No, that is not me writing that. Why would I try to kill a little kid? I don't want to go to jail. I have a daughter. This is...
Yeah, I don't think that you wanted to do that at all. I just think that you said it just to be stupid.
Yeah, but
I don't think that you meant it at all. I think that you said it to be stupid.
I mean, yes,
now, when did you know that your sister was having trouble with her?
I knew when the detective came to our house and spoke that she had been at the stabbing. And I figured that they had problems because her and Shelley didn't get along. So I figured my sister's Shelley's friend, then obviously she's not going to get along with her either.
Your sister has a bad attitude. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You know, not a bad, very bad attitude.
I'm very aware.
Does your mother know that your sister has a very bad attitude? I can tell from looking at her face. If I were her mother and had a face like that, look at me when I talk to her, It would be the last time I would look at that face, madam. It would be
agree.
the last time I would look at that face. How old are you?
15.
Do you want to be a miserable, ugly person your whole life?
No, man.
Well, you're starting out that way. You really are. You can either be successful and productive, or you can be a loser. Right now, you're on the road to loser. Big time. Does your mother tell you that?
No.
Well, I'm telling you, big time. You've got a miserable attitude. I can tell that from 20 feet away. I didn't even have to live with you as long as your sister did. You think that people are going to be attracted to you because you're tough?
No, man.
They won't. They'll think you're an idiot. Can't you do anything with her?
I've tried. As you can see, it's complete opposite, and trust me, we've tried. It's just, if you don't have the attitude to change, nobody around you can make you change, and she doesn't want to change, so.
Do you discuss that with your mother?
Yes, me and my mom do talk about it.
You have my sympathy.
Thank you.
You really have my sympathy. I don't know what you're going to do with her. You know, when they're little, you can, deal with them better. You'd put them in a corner and you'd say, time out. And here's a good crack in your head, too. But she's too big for that.
Just gotta wait for her to move out. 18's coming.
What's with you, my dear? Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? Why are you so hell-bent on destroying your life?
I'm not trying to destroy my life.
But you are.
I'm not.
You are. Your mother can't wait for you to turn 18 so that you get out of the house because you're making the rest of the family miserable. Is anybody at home abusing you?
No, man.
Well, then I don't understand why you're so miserable.
Well,
you were involved in a very serious crime. You did absolutely the wrong thing. If a 13-year-old person, who's not an infant, sees a dog get hit in the street, they call an ambulance. They don't walk home and just, relax. Get stabbed 5 times by somebody who had a weapon, and you were able just to go home and sleep and get it. It's not important.
I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
You were supposed to get help for somebody that needed it because you were involved. You want to know why you were involved? Because if you and these other people hadn't gone with Shelley to the park, Shelley wouldn't have gone to the park. Shelley took strength in the fact that her friends were with her. You're all accomplices. Yes, you were. But for the fact that you all gave Shelley support, Shelley would not have had the courage to go to the park alone and stab her with a knife. She may have done it on another day, but she wouldn't have done it on your watch. That's why you're responsible. And then from a humane perspective, how could you just walk away and leave someone to bleed to death on the street? Now, I want you to continue to tell me what problems you've had with Miss Attitude over here.
It was like when I was going to Brenda's house.
Tell me what happened.
And I was going to my street so I could catch the bus back up to my house to get my clothes to go over to hers. And it was like in an intersection, and we were stopped at the light, and then Heather and like the people that were with me at the park or whatever were with her, and she walked in front of the bus and she was just calling me names and stuff, and I was getting off at that stop, so I pulled the thing, and then I got off the bus or whatever. They all turned around, and then I just went in the corner store, and when I came back out, they weren't out there.
Why do you have any contact with her at all?
I just flipped her off.
Why?
Because she didn't like me, so I didn't want to like her.
Just a second. Between the time she was stabbed and last November, why did you have any negative contact with her at all?
I shouldn't have, but that was the only time that I said anything to her.
Why did you say anything to her?
I don't know. I was being stupid. But I have papers here that she wrote me. She wrote me first, before that day. She wrote me.
I'd like to see him.
I wrote her back, and then she wrote me again.
Yeah, she's saying to you, and she uses terrible, terrible language. You have to learn how to, use your words. Find some other language other than 4-letter words to express yourself. Stay in school. But she's really saying to you here, why don't you leave me alone? Don't you have anything else to do? Now, what you do say is, I am loyal to my friends, so I'm going to stick by Shelley 100%. I don't like having beef with people, but Shelley was my best friend, and I honestly don't even know why the whole fight started, but you should not have gotten stabbed. But like I said, she is my homie, so I'm going to stick by her. What you're telling me, Mary, is that your conversation with her was stupid?
Pretty much. I shouldn't have called her, and I do apologize for that. I realize that she is the victim in the stabbing, and if I had any control over my sister, she wouldn't have been there.
Good girl. Sit down. Want to stand up, Miss Wilson? Next to your daughter? I'm going to tell you a story. Many years ago, when I was a family court judge, there was a young girl who was going to Fashion Institute of Technology, and she was on the subway by herself. And a group of girls, 5 of them, had nothing to do that day. So they got on the subway, and this girl, whose name was Marisol, was wearing big hoop earrings. This case was probably 20 years ago, but I remember it so distinctly because one of the girls said to her friends, "Run those earrings," which means steal the earrings. And they circled her, and one girl grabbed her by the hair, another girl ripped off the earrings, and the third girl stabbed her to death. She was 17 years old. And they got the stabber, and the stabber was tried for murder and convicted. You got that look on your face that I'd like to wipe off. Don't put it back on your face. I was sitting in family court at the time, and it was my job to try the other girls who were juveniles, and I convicted them all of murder, even the ones that didn't stab her, because but for the fact that they acted as a pack and they surrounded her and they were there giving her support, that girl would not have had the guts to take her on one-on-one. And I tell you now that that conviction was held up on appeal. So you are very lucky that nobody arrested you. You're very lucky that they didn't charge you, because if you were in my ballpark, you would be spending some time with Shelley. Meanwhile, it's going to cost you and your family $5,000, because that's what she's suing for, and that's what she's going to get. And I certainly hope that your mother gets you some help. Otherwise, you're going to be a miserable person your whole life. That's all. Thank you.
Diane Dennis is suing her daughter, Christy Dennis, for fraudulently using her home as collateral on a bail bond. Christy claims she paid her back.
Mr. Dennis, this is your daughter.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your daughter has had a difficult adulthood. She has some children that you are caring for because she had a drug problem for a while and was unable to care for the children. And I assume that you're doing okay now.
Yes.
You look fine.
Thank you.
Sometime during that period of time, she gave you the home that she had, and you and the children live in that home.
Yes.
You subsequently found out that she had used that home, while it was still in her name, as collateral for bail for her boyfriend.
Right.
The boyfriend skipped out. The bail was up to several $1,000s. There was a lien on the house for that amount of money, and you want her to pay you back for that.
That's correct.
Is there a mortgage on the house?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for it?
$115,000.
When did you buy it?
It would be like 96 or 97.
99.
Oh, 99.
What's the house now worth?
$150,000.
So it is appreciated in value.
Yes.
And when did she give it to you?
In September of '03.
And are you paying the mortgage on the house now?
Yes, I am.
Did you put any money down on the house?
No, I didn't.
So the house is now worth approximately $35,000 more than when you purchased it. And you put in zero money.
Well, I put some upgrades in the home, but I didn't.
That has
put any.
nothing to do with, you put in zero money.
That's right.
To purchase it.
Right.
And between 1999 and 2003, you paid the mortgage?
Yeah.
You did not pay the mortgage.
Well, I did. It went into foreclosure 3 times during that time. It was because of non-payment. So the first time it was $1,800. That was in '01. She came to me and said, "I'm in big trouble."
Okay, that was $1,800. And
okay,
then?
a year later in $1,200, and I paid that. And then I moved in with her. She was having trouble paying her bills and everything. And in 2003, it went into foreclosure for the 3rd time for non-payment.
But you were living with her at the time?
Yes, and I was giving her my half of the house payment to pay, but she was not paying the house payment. So then we owed $2,425. And I said, well, if you want me to pay it this time, it's no longer your house.
And that was in September of 2003?
Yes.
And when did you actually turn the house over to your mother?
September of 2003.
And when did you use the house as collateral for bail for your boyfriend?
In June of 2004.
Well, how could you use the house as collateral?
Well, it was still in my name.
Well, how could it be in your name if you turned it over to your mother? When did
she
you
kept
actually...
it in my name.
Oh, she can't do that.
No,
Why did
what
you
we
keep it
did
in your
is
name?
that we did a quit claim deed and we notarized it and everything, but I did not record it at the county recorder's office.
Why not?
Because I was not anxious to take her house, and she said that she was going to pay me back. And so I put on the letter of explanation on the quit claim deed, I gave her a little bit of time to do that and said if she did it by a certain date.
Miss Dennis.
She never did it.
Diane Dennis says her daughter, Christy Dennis, owes for a bail lien on her home.
Ms. Dennis, if you had recorded the deed, which you, I assume, ultimately did,
Yes, I did.
then she couldn't have used the house as collateral.
That's right. That was my mistake, definitely.
It was your mistake.
Right.
But you're really not out any money because you have a home in which you put in no money and you have equity in the house of over $35,000.
Yes, and I've helped her a lot. The only thing
I'm not talking about you helping her. And I assume that when she gave you this house, and if there was an increased equity of $35,000, nobody paid any federal gift tax on the house.
Well, it hasn't been sold.
It doesn't have to be sold. She gave you a gift. And if the gift is in excess of $10,000, you have to pay a gift tax on that, Ms.
Well,
Dennis.
she was going into foreclosure. It was either going to go to the bank or to me.
You're making excuses. You know exactly what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is you now have a home in which at most you put in $4,000 if you paid the back mortgage payment.
No, that was over $6,000, three times.
I have 18 and 22.
And then 24, 25 the last time. That was the foreclosure.
You were living, just a second, you were living there.
And giving her the payment.
You were living there. I don't believe that you were giving her the payment, Miss Dennis.
Was I giving? Okay.
Miss Dennis, I don't believe you were giving her the payment. With her history of not paying the mortgage, it doesn't sound right to me that if you're living there because your daughter's on drugs, that you would turn over your half of the mortgage payment to her so that she would pay the mortgage. Ms. Dennis, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
Okay.
So,
well, I thought she wasn't paying the payment because she didn't have the money. She went through a hard time. She lost her partner.
Ms. Dennis, I don't
working.
believe you that you were giving her the money. I don't believe that you were living in the house with her to take care of your grandchildren because she was going through a difficult time, according to you, on drugs, and you were handing her over money. I don't believe it.
Yeah,
well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Okay, after she signed the quitclaim deed, the only thing that changed is that I was now making the payment.
Ms. Dennis, you have a house in which you have now $35,000 in equity for which you paid nothing.
Your Honor, I upgraded the downstairs.
Good for you. Now you own the house.
At the time I took the quitclaim deed, she had about $10,000 worth of equity. This has been since 2003 that she signed it over to me. In 2004, she used it as collateral to get her boyfriend out of jail.
Couldn't
now
have
that's
done
the
that.
only.
Couldn't have done that, my dear, if you had taken the deed.
But it still changes hands. The only thing is, it doesn't give notice. As far as I gave constructive notice because I'm living in the house.
Don't tell me about constructive notice. You did not give constructive notice to the bail bondsman. Because if you did, then the bail bondsman would not have been.
Yeah, I found out that about
you think if you talk more than me,
No,
you're
no.
wrong on the law, Miss Dennis.
Of course, but
of course.
A year
so
later,
if you're wrong on the law, and if you come to a court, somebody's going to say to you, you're wrong on the law. A certain amount of sympathy, because if you were out money, I would say,
I'm
you know,
out
I
how
have,
much
I
money?
have sympathy. Well, that's not what this is about. We're here on one particular issue, and the one issue that we're here to address is whether or not you are entitled to the money that you had to repay to take a lien off your house.
Right.
And I'm saying to you that it wasn't your house.
Okay.
Unless you record it, because that's what the law requires, that you record a deed so that the rest of the world knows that this is your property. The law does not require that with regard to personal property, the locket around your neck, the shirt that you're wearing, but the law requires that with regard to land.
Right.
You chose, for whatever reason, not to do that. She was absolutely entitled, therefore, during that period of time to use her house as collateral. Now, if you're looking for a sympathy factor, there is none, because according to you, the equity that she had built up until 2003 was $10,000. Now the equity is $35,000. So sympathetically, it's here. Morally, it's here.
Okay, I paid over $6,000 just to get it out of foreclosure when she was non-paying. Okay, I put in improvements that was way over the
Goodbye, Miss Dennis. You're not getting anywhere. The case is dismissed.
Okay.
All parties in the matter of Wright versus Cox. Step forward.
Philip Wright is suing his ex-fiancée, Lillian Cox, for the value of an engagement ring. Lillian is countersuing for half the cost of a wedding that never happened.
Bird, you want to give me those lovely rings that are on the defendant's table over there.
Certainly.
Mr. Wright, you and the defendant were in love once, became engaged. Romance is over. Wedding was called off. You want your rings back.
No, ma'am.
You don't want these back.
I'd prefer the cash settlement.
Oh, that's too bad.
Okay.
So I assume you want these back.
Yes, in that case.
And Ms. Cox says that you owe her a fortune because you canceled the wedding. She had spent an awful lot of money, so she wants you to share the expenses that she was forced to pay as a result of you canceling the wedding. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This was your engagement ring?
Yes, ma'am.
And 2 bands that went around it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay for it?
Yes.
An engagement ring is given in contemplation of marriage, which means it's a conditional gift. And the condition of that gift is that you get married.
Mm-hmm.
If the wedding is called off, irrespective of who calls it off, if he paid for them, he gets the rings back.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So much for you. When was the wedding scheduled?
For May 19th.
2007.
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the arrangement that the two of you made with regard to how the wedding was going to be paid for?
We were taking care of much as we could ourselves.
Explain that to me.
The majority of the deposits that were done, I paid for it out of cash.
You paid for it?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your agreement?
The agreement was...
Look at me.
She wanted to have, the type of wedding that she wanted. I agreed to it. So I got 2 credit cards, one with her name, one with my name. I gave her a credit card to basically be in charge of making all the arrangements, and, she kept all the receipts for everything.
So how much money, Mr. Wright, did you spend, you personally, on the wedding prior to the engagement being called off?
Approximately $8,000 was charged onto the credit card.
What?
It's about $8,000 because he paid for the rings. The only thing that his credit card paid for was the finish of the reception.
Just a second. Okay. I'm not talking about the rings, sir. The rings you have back. Deduct the rings.
With the rings deducted, it still comes out to about that. Everything was charged onto the cards.
Well, how could it be? You mean you paid nothing for the rings?
No, I'm sorry. I paid for the diamond on a separate credit card, but that still comes out to $5,000.
The diamond was bought for a previous engagement. That didn't have anything to do with
No. What I'm trying to figure out is, what is the total exposure that you both have for these expenses? I'm going to cut them in half because that's what I'm going to do. Okay. You want me to charge him for everything because he canceled the wedding, but that's not the way it works. Now, how much money did he pay for the wedding expenses on his card?
$2,000.
Is that right?
No, that's incorrect.
Show me.
I don't have the statement. She kept all the receipts, Your Honor.
But you have the statements.
I don't have a written statement.
Statements from the credit card company.
I tried to get the statement for things that were bought back then. They sent me something. It wasn't what I requested. The only thing that I have now to show you the balance is I can show it to you on my phone. That's the only thing that I can do right now.
Are you kidding me or what? How much did you pay?
Well, I'm just requesting the deposits that I made on things with cash, the dress that was bought.
You have a wedding dress?
Yes, ma'am.
You have it?
Yes, ma'am.
Just like he has the rings?
Yes, ma'am.
The wedding dress is yours. You have it. Forget the wedding dress. What else? Sell it.
I have the dresses that I bought for his daughters. He has 3, the one for my daughter, my cousin, my sister. I also have the knives, the flutes.
Do you have it?
Yes, ma'am. But it was for both of us.
I understand it's for both of you. You don't want to split it up and give him half and you half, do you?
But I would like for him to pay.
He's not.
Okay.
You see the rings that he has?
Yes, ma'am.
He's never going to be able to get what he paid for the rings, which is why he wanted the cash. Never going to be able to get the cash equivalent, but that's what happens. Okay. You may not get the cash equivalent for your wedding dress or the flutes or the knives, unless you want to keep them, but you could sell them.
Okay.
Everybody has a little bit of a loss. Do you understand, Miss Cox?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just my own curiosity. How much before this wedding on May 19th was the wedding canceled?
3 weeks before.
By whom?
Mr. Wright.
What happened?
There was a huge blow-up, on Miss Cox's part, and she said some things that let me know that it wouldn't work, And after going through premarital counseling, I figure it's better to call off a marriage than get married and get a divorce right away.
Okay. Go ahead.
So... Also, I'm asking for $2,000 emotional distress because even though he called it off, he did come back to try to make it work.
What kind of emotional distress? I mean, where do people come up with these ideas? course you have distressed emotionally when a wedding is called off.
Okay. We never argue in regards to things that usually go in a relationship. We argue because he wanted me to stand up to his children's mother. He never said anything to her in regards to the things that she were doing to separate us. He always wanted me to say something. But that's the reason why I was called off, and I don't, okay.
You were distressed emotionally?
Yes, ma'am.
Move on. Got it? That's what you do. Weddings get called off all the time. Sometimes not 3 weeks before. But it's better that it was called off 3 weeks before than 3 weeks after.
But his
gets a lot more complicated.
His reason wasn't really legitimate, Judge Judy.
I don't care what his reason was.
Okay.
What difference does it make what his reason was?
It makes a huge difference because it was only 3 weeks left.
You mean you would have preferred that he married you and then left you?
He wouldn't have left because he came back. He came back. If he was going to leave, he would have never came back.
The mother of his children wasn't going away. He has 3 children with her.
Absolutely.
She was not going away.
Okay.
Forever.
But the things that he did when he came back...
Find somebody
he
without
did
baggage. Do you have baggage?
I have a daughter.
Then you got baggage.
But it wasn't
He's
a
got
problem.
3 times baggage. If you want somebody without baggage, pick somebody who's lived in a monastery. You got it? Meanwhile, say, it's over. You're a beautiful young lady.
Thank you.
You look like a smart young lady.
I am, thank you.
Right? He's got divided loyalties. Find somebody that's a little more simplistic.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Body drugs, they step out.
These aren't always what they appear to be when you first get into a situation.
Just what she said. Find somebody with no baggage.
And so you just have to kind of take it slow.
"18-year-old Monica Vasquez claims ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for kicking her car and smashing it with trash cans. Monica also claims Lyndon destroyed her cell phone.
You are?
Lydia Calderon, Monica's mother.
Okay, but you don't know anything about this case particularly, do you?
No.
Except that the car belonged to you.
Belongs to both of us.
Are you both on the title?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down for a moment? You're Monica?
Yes.
This was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
For about 3 years.
Monica, you say that he broke your cell phone and vandalized your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't do it. So tell me when he vandalized your car.
It was like about 1:30, and he showed up at my house.
1:30
in the morning.
On what date?
July 28th.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Who else was at home?
My sister.
It was 1:30 a.m. Do you live with your sister?
Yes, I do.
What does your sister do for a living?
She works at Premier Real Estate. She's
And
a
what do you do?
receptionist.
What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Where?
At Rite Aid.
How long have you been working there?
In October, it'll be a year.
Mr. Trujillo.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a tattoo artist.
You work for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean?
I'm not working at a shop right now.
So where do you work from?
Out of my house.
Are you licensed?
No.
Do you have to be licensed where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in California.
And in California, you don't need a license to give somebody a tattoo with
No,
a
you
needle?
don't.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to give somebody a pedicure,
Yeah.
but not to give somebody a tattoo.
No.
You sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
Anyway, you make a living at this?
Yeah.
Well, especially since you have no overhead.
What's that? No. What? No. What? No.
Overhead.
Overhead? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was over my head. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, that was true.
Right. Sorry about that.
All right, Miss Vasquez, why don't you tell me about what happened on the 28th of July?
Okay, he showed up at my house, and he knocked on my window. I came out of my room, and I went to the garage, because he went around the house. And I had told him to leave because my sister did not want him around her house.
Why did he come there?
He was...
He said you called him.
No, I did not call him.
You say in your papers, sir, that you went over to the house at 1:30 on July 28th because she called you.
Yeah, we had been talking.
No. Because she called you on July 28th. That's
Okay.
why you said you went over there, right?
Right.
And how did she call you? On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you have your cell phone records?
No. I'm sure if I went and got them, I could bring them back to you. I mean, if you wanted to, another
We
day
don't
or
do
something.
do-overs here, Mr. Trujillo. What we do is, when you're coming to court, you're supposed to be prepared. You know what it's like, Mr. Trujillo? You do tattooing
Yeah.
in your house.
Right.
Let's say you made an appointment with somebody who's going to get a really big tattoo. They were going to pay a whole lot of money
Yeah.
for for the tattoo. And let's say they arrived and they sat down for you to do the tattoo and you forgot to buy ink.
Right, right. Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
That's what it's like, Mr. Trujillo, when you come here without evidence.
Yeah, I understand.
With just your good looks and tattoo. That's what happens. You're supposed to bring evidence, bring proof. So we have no proof that she called you to arrive at her house at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you went outside and you told him to disappear.
Yes.
And what happened?
And by that time, my sister had came out because she heard the knock, because our rooms are right next door. And she had went out and told him to leave her house because she was going to call the
police.
Because the incident with the phone.
Oh, so the incident with the phone happened first?
Yes.
And that happened about a month before?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, I was at work, and I get out of work at 10, and he showed up at my work, so I left.
Had you not been seeing each other?
No.
Right.
And I left my work, and he followed me down the street, and he was telling me to pull over, and he was next to me in my car. And so I pulled over because he was coming closer to my car, and he had said that if I didn't pull over, he would go to my house and, like, break windows. And so I pulled over, and he had got my phone to check it for what, I don't know, we weren't together. And I was telling him to give me back my phone, and he was like, "You want your phone?" So he cracked it in half and gave it to me. And so...
Had he been drinking?
Yes, he had a beer in his car.
Who else was in the car?
He was by himself that night.
You got to get a job out of the house, Mr. Trujillo.
Okay.
Listen to me, sir. First, I want you to tell me who these people are that you brought with you to court today.
I brought my dad to court with me today and my brother Fabian. This is my dad, Johnny, and Fabian and Silo.
Yeah, and you all live together?
No.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my uncle.
Why?
Because my dad has recently moved, and he had moved in with someone else, and there wasn't enough room, so I actually went to live with my uncle.
And where does your brother live?
With his grandpa.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old's your brother?
19.
Who did your father move in with?
His girlfriend.
Was there a time you were all living together?
At one time, yeah.
When was the last time you lived together with your father?
About 2 months ago, I lived with my dad in Visalia.
And your brother also lived with your father?
No, my brother has always lived with his grandpa in Tulare.
Did you break her phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, tell me what happened, Mr. Trujillo.
Me and Monica had been seeing each other before this incident with the cell phone happened. We had been talking, and we had been texting each other, and she had told me that she got out of work at 10 o'clock, and that if I wanted to see her after work. And I said, okay, cool. I had the car, so I said, okay, I'll meet you at Taco Bell. So we went, and we met at Taco Bell parking lot, and we were there. Everything was fine. We were talking, hugging. Everything was cool. And then a call comes through on my phone. And when a call comes through on my phone, it was a ringtone, as, you know, the ringtones, like I know you've heard them, like the lovey-dovey ringtones, like the, you know what I mean, like the guy and girl together ringtones. You know what I'm talking about or no? Like, I mean, I could sing one.
Special song or something.
Like, I mean, I could sing one for you, if you want me to sing one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, at the time when that had happened, we were both kind of looking at each other because I was already like, okay, you know, something's wrong, I messed up. So Monica had...
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, Monica had snatched my phone out of my hand. And when that had happened, she snatched my phone, and I reached for it back. We kind of got into an argument, a little conflict, you know what I mean? And
who was calling you, Mr. Trujillo?
Just a friend.
Boyfriend or a girlfriend?
It was a girlfriend.
The timing was really terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't expected.
It was messed up.
Yeah, it was at the right time. So when that had happened, I was leaning up against my car, and Monica had thrown my phone at me. But when she had thrown my phone at me, somehow, and you can tell she has little hands. I don't know how she had both phones in her hand, but when she had thrown it at me, my phone rolled over the car, the hood of the car, and her phone hit my car and broke. However it broke, it was snapped in half, and that's basically what happened.
When he met you at Taco Bell, had you told him that you were going to be out of work at 10 o'clock?
No, he called my work around 10, and he said, I was around the corner. He goes, I'll be there right now. And I was like, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And at that point, my boss had opened the doors to let me leave earlier than everybody else, because I had told him. And when I got in my car to leave, he was already at the corner, and that's when he just followed me.
Do you think if I called her boss would say that they opened the door and let her out a little early?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
What's your boss's name?
David Centeno.
Give me his number.
It's my phone, and my phone is out there.
The Rite Aid number, 67816. There you go.
7816? Now, Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When somebody tells me I tend to disbelieve everything that they say, especially when I have to get my rather sizable keister off this chair and go in the back to make a telephone call. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, I am prepared to do that.
Okay.
unless you want to revise your version of the cell phone events.
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
Okay, so let's call Mr. David, because he doesn't have any clue that I might be calling him. He is going to tell me whether or not he let her out early because you were going to come over.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, is David Santano there, please? David, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. David, I have a question for you. I'm here trying a case with Monica Vasquez. And I want you to think back to sometime around the end of June of this year, in the evening when she was leaving. There was an incident with her boyfriend when he called the store. Do you remember that? Could you tell me what happened, please, David? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. David, you're a very, very nice man for speaking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Boss is a very nice gentleman. Mr. Trujillo, I suggest you spend a little less time tattooing and piercing yourself and a little more time honing your truthful skills, sir. Honing your truthful skills. Ask your father what that means. Honing your truthful skills, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because Mr. Santano says that he remembers the evening very well. You would call the store. You said, I'm going to get down there before the store closes. They let her leave early, and they stood there to watch her get in her car and take off before you got there because she had already broken up with you, and she was afraid about what was going to happen if you got there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now I believe very little, sir, of what you're going to tell me. So now he owes you a cell phone. Now I want you to tell me what happened when he vandalized your car.
Okay, that was the night he showed up at my window.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you came out, you told him to leave. Sister came out, and you told him to leave. And I understand that there were other people with him.
His father and his brother.
Two geniuses.
Yes. And they were all drinking.
Two geniuses. Well, they can't live together, so at least they can drink together. I guess that's what family's all about. Go ahead.
And my sister had told his dad to keep him away from her house. And his dad didn't really understand what was happening because Lyndon didn't let him know about the night with the cell phone. So he didn't understand why my sister was...
I think if there wasn't a cell phone, his father wouldn't have understood. Go ahead.
So after that, my sister had told him she was going to call the cops and get a restraining order on him. And at that time, Lyndon was mad because his dad had told me, well, then I don't want her calling him or at my house. And I had said, I haven't called your son and I haven't been to your house. And at that time, Lyndon had got mad and they were drinking. So he kind of like pushed my sister. And at that time, when he got angry, my sister ran to the house to call the cops. And at that time, I had ran back to the house too because he was still mad. And he followed me to the garage door on the side of the house. And when I closed the door and locked it, I could feel him trying to open it. He just went to the front of the garage where my car was parked, and I heard a loud noise. And at that time, I had lifted the garage door up because my sister had came out, and we seen him leave the side of my car and get into his dad's car, and the two trash cans were against my car, laying against my car.
You have pictures of
Yes,
the car?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Outrageous. When did you purchase this car?
Last year in November.
Bought it yourself?
My mom helped me.
Who pays for it?
I do.
Paid the insurance too?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up next to him. You came here, you might as well stand up here.
Monica Vasquez says ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for vandalizing her car and for destroying her cell phone.
What were you doing out with your son at 1:30 in the morning?
We had went to the club.
What club?
El Presidente.
What were you doing at the club?
Dancing.
And drinking?
I was, yes.
With whom?
Females.
All different kinds?
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you were dancing and drinking with a whole bunch of females, you weren't watching what your two sons were doing?
Actually, he was on his cell phone the whole time we were there, text messaging and
back and forth, and I went to him and asked him, who you texting? And he said, Monica. So
And that's what he said to you.
yeah.
That's what he said to you, but you don't know that that's true.
No, but
If I may, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The day before the cell phone incident had occurred,
Yeah.
she came to my house, and my dad was coming up from work, and she was coming downstairs. I was walking her down to her car. And that's why I don't understand really how it could go from her being upstairs in my house and me and her being together in a relationship or working things out, and then to...
Well, were you working things out, or were you in a relationship, sir?
No, we're working things out to be in a relationship.
So what did you go there at 1:30 in the morning for?
Because we had been texting each other. We had been texting and talking to each other, and...
Did she invite you there?
Yeah, I had her on speakerphone because I was the designated driver.
Yeah, she had told him.
Yeah, she was in the car. She knew that the speakerphone wasn't on.
That her sister was asleep, the kids were gone, for him to go over there and visit, to see her.
And what were you going to do?
I just sat in the car because I was drinking.
You, and what about him?
He was in the back seat.
So the two of you were just going to sit there in the back seat of the car,
Well,
in the
actually,
front seat
yeah.
of the car, while he went inside to visit with his girlfriend?
They didn't go inside. They stayed outside in the driveway.
Fine. So he goes over to see Monica, and how did her car get dented?
When we got there, Monica had stepped outside. She was walking towards her car. We pulled up, and she went like this, like waved us over there. We all three got out of the car, walked over. She showed us a dent on her car and said that she had got into an accident with a motorcyclist. And me and her made a few comments back and forth because I had just recently wrecked my Harley. And I had told her, you know, so anyways, we said a few statements back and forth. And then me and Fabian went back and got back in the car. They stayed there talking, hugging, kissing until Marie came outside. And Monica flipped the whole script when Marie came outside because she was upset.
Were you at his house the day before?
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
When you send a text message, could you save those things?
They stay for 14 days.
Huh?
You can lock them.
Save them, right?
Yes, you can.
Show me.
Your Honor, I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any proof right now, Your Honor, so it's...
Why don't you, sir?
Because I came unprepared. I came on intentions of knowing that what I know is true.
Is everything that you said just now as truthful as you went over to the store the end of June, invited by her to come over to the store?
What, to her store, Rite Aid?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Rite Aid.
Oh, no.
No, I said I went to Taco Bell. I drove to Taco Bell. She was at Rite Aid when we had talked on her.
Why would you think, Mr. Trujillo, that she would say to her boss, concerned, I just want to get out of here before he comes over, and the boss distinctly remembers all the employees watching her get into the car to make sure she was safe and leave?
But I wasn't in her parking lot, though.
I don't care whether you were in a parking lot or not, sir. Why do you think that boss would remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, boss, no. I'm not saying that. She got in her car, but I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you, though, is that I did not go into her parking lot.
No, what you said, Mr. Trujillo, was that you had an appointment to meet in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that, sir, is a lie. That, sir, is a lie.
That we met in Taco Bell?
It is a lie that you had an appointment to meet at Taco Bell. Because when she heard from you, she asked her boss if she could take off because she was concerned about her safety. They all watched her leave.
Then why would she have pulled into Taco Bell if she knew that she could have got away from me?
I don't know what you were doing, sir. And I don't know what your drunken father was doing or your drunken brother was doing on the night this happened with the car. I have no clue. All I know is, sir, you lied to me once, and you also don't know the law in the jurisdiction where you live because you're required to have a license to tattoo. Sir.
Okay.
And what is your address?
My address right now?
Where you're doing the tattooing?
In a house. On.
What is the address?
I don't know my address. I just know it's on Bradley Street. I've only been there like a month, 2 months, so I don't know the address. I don't get mail there.
Did you make more than 3 children or
Only
just 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. So far you got 2 losers, right? 1,
I don't consider
2.
them losers, but...
Well, so far they haven't done anything to make you proud.
Sure they have.
I don't see
They
it.
graduated high school. That made me proud.
My God. My God, that's like the 8th wonder of the world.
That's an accomplishment in this family.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
You got to do something with it once you graduate from high school.
Yes, I totally agree.
So pleased that you agree with me. I've been looking forward all year for a person of your stature to agree with me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. That's all. Goodbye.
23-year-old Erin King is suing her former roommate, 21-year-old Avian Moses, for stopping payment on a rent check. Avian claims Erin kicked her out after 2 weeks of living together.
Ms. King, the defendant was your roommate for a short period of time. It is your claim that she moved out after an argument that you had, and she put a stop payment on her rent check.
Yes.
You want your rent.
Right.
And the defendant says that you kicked her out of the apartment, and therefore she doesn't have to pay you any rent. Ms. Moses, you moved into Ms. King's apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
I moved in approximately August the 4th, I believe, around the beginning of August.
Was it August 4th?
August 5th.
And you knew each other before?
Yes, we did.
Through college.
What was the rental arrangement?
The rental arrangement was that we would both split the rent equally, $305 including utilities. She was supposed to pay me on the 3rd of each month.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she move out?
She moved out November the 14th.
Had she paid you November's rent?
Well, she wrote me a check when I went to the bank to cash it.
That's the rent check that she stopped paying
Right,
on.
and I have that as
okay.
well.
So that was November 14th.
Mm-hmm.
So far you were in the apartment from November the 3rd to November the 14th.
Yes.
So you should have paid rent.
Yes.
On what date did you give her the rent?
Probably the 7th. It was after the time that I was supposed to give it to her. Oh, yes, ma'am, the 7th.
Why were you late with your rent?
Well, a week before that, my purse had gotten stolen, and I didn't have a bank card. I had to change all my accounts, and during this time when I was changing the numbers and all, getting everything straight, I informed Aaron of this. I said, I don't have a checkbook, I don't have a bank card. I said, can I just pay you next week once my accounts are in order? She said, yes, no problem. I said, I'll pay you a late fee. She said, okay, no problem, and I did so.
You paid her the rent?
Yes, and a late fee.
Which you owed her?
Yes.
And the late fee?
Yes.
Now, why did you stop payment on the check?
Me and Aaron had been having problems living together for about a month. She was in an abusive relationship. It was constant fighting in the apartment. Her boyfriend would come over, get high, smoke weed, hit on me. She'd leave him in there. She gave him a key to the apartment. She would constantly fight with me over food, saying I was stealing from her. We got into a physical altercation, and I decided this was the last straw. She was not on the lease and to get out of her house. So I said, gladly, I'll stop paying my rent check, and I'll leave your house immediately.
Well, you can't do that. A, you didn't tell her you were stopping payment on the rent check.
I did tell her I was stopping payment on my rent check.
Really? No.
She
You didn't
called
even
me.
say that in your answer, that you told her you would leave
She called
immediately.
me that same day, and I told her I was stopping payment on my rent check, and I was moving out.
You may have told her that after she called you on the phone, but when you had the argument with her in the house...
No, she told me to leave. She told me this was her apartment and to leave.
On the phone or in person?
No, and when we had our physical altercation.
I understand that. You're not putting on your listening ears.
I'm sorry.
At the time you had this altercation and this argument, you did not say to her, I'm putting a stop payment on the rent check. According to you, you told her over the phone that you were putting a stop payment on the rent.
I apologize for not mentioning that, but I did tell her at the point when we were after the physical altercation, the police that came, I told her that I was leaving and I was stopping payment on my rent check.
Well, you can't.
Okay.
You can't. Unless, of course, she changed the locks.
Yes, that's exactly what she did.
When did you change the locks?
I changed the locks on the 14th. That was because she had been going through my belongings. She had actually stole from...
Just a second. You can't change the locks and ask for rent at the same time.
Well, I actually changed the locks after she did the stop payment on the check. After they gave me the check back from the bank, I went to the
That's
bank
not correct.
on the 11th. They told me at the bank I need to take this check back to Ms. Moses. They couldn't tell me why because it was concerning her account. After I left the bank, I said, Avian, I just left the bank. They gave me the check. She said, I'm not paying you anything. I'm moving out.
That's not correct.
And so after that, I later discovered that she had been in my room while I was out of the apartment.
Ms. King, can't have it both ways. If you change the locks on the apartment, making it impossible for her to come back to the apartment, you can't charge her for rent for the entire month.
She did come back to the apartment. After we got into the argument on that Sunday, the police came.
Who called the police?
She did. Even though she started the altercation, she was threatening me with an alcohol bottle, saying that she was going to hit me upside my head with it. While the police was there, I said, it's fine. She can stay, for the next 3 weeks. It won't be any problems. She left that Sunday. She actually came back that Monday and spent the night, even after she told me that she was moving out, and she had started to move her stuff out.
When did she finally move the last bit of property out of the house?
She didn't finish moving out because after I had the locks changed, I called her and I let her know that I had the locks changed and to call me and make arrangements to get the rest of her belongings. I guess she was angry because I had the locks changed, and she said, well, you're stealing my property. She was with her mother. I said, no, you can come in and get your stuff. I even gave her mother a futon cover that was on in the living room and a financial aid paper. I guess, you know, it has her financial information. I kept telling them, please come in and get the rest of your stuff. I even, you know, gave them that. I wasn't...
When did she take it out, or did she still not
She left after I gave her mother the futon cover and the Norfolk State financial aid booklet. They said, we don't want the rest of the stuff. We're leaving, and they left it. And so she left a bed, a dresser,
Did you leave
clothing.
a bed and a dresser there?
Yes.
Ma'am, because... Yes, I did, because she wouldn't allow me to get it.
Oh,
She
well,
changed
you
the
didn't,
lock.
listen to me. You didn't sue her, did you, for your stuff?
Yes, I did. And the court ordered her to give it back to me, and I didn't get it back until January the 1st of 2007.
Oh, so you did sue her. This is
Yes,
not
I
the
did.
first time you've been in small claims court.
No, ma'am.
Really? I got it. Miss King, you're only entitled to half a month's rent. Change the locks. But you're entitled to half a month's rent. $150, $250.
Okay.
Right? That's what your half a month's rent is.
Yes.
And that's what you offered to pay her.
Yes, I did. She
$150,
said she didn't want it.
$250. Absolutely right. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Betty Shapiro is suing her son, 22-year-old Jason Hartwick, for a loan to buy an '88 Mustang and for a loan to pay restitution.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
This is your son.
Yes, it is.
Was he a cute baby?
Very cute.
Did you ever think when he was born, when you were taking care of his colds and when you were cleaning up after him, that you'd ever be suing him?
Never.
You must be pretty frustrated.
Very frustrated. He owes me money. I mean, it's not even the money. It's the issue of responsibility. He needs to pay his debts, and that's why we're here.
How many children do you have?
4.
Where does he fit in?
The second son. I have an older son, him, a younger son, and a daughter.
What about your other children? They okay?
They're fine.
So this is what the case is about. You loaned him money for a car.
Correct.
Tell me your first name.
Jason.
Jason, when did your mother loan you money for a car?
I'd say last year around
Mr.
February.
Shapiro, when did you loan her money for the car?
May 13th of 05.
What kind of a car did you buy, Jason?
I bought a 67 Mustang.
67 Mustang?
Or, no, it was an 88, sorry. I was thinking of a different car. 88
You're only
5.0. Sorry.
century apart. What?
Yeah. It's an 88 5.0 Mustang.
And according to your complaint, Mr. Shapiro, he paid on the car.
Yes, he made 4 payments.
And what was the total amount he borrowed?
$1,500.
How much did he pay you?
On 6/14 of 05, he paid $120. On 7/18, he paid $95. On 8/20, he paid $80. On 9/21, he paid $75.
And then he stopped paying.
Correct.
And Jason says he stopped paying because the car got towed.
Yep.
And he couldn't get the car out of impound because he didn't have any money.
Correct.
So he called you, and he said, can you give me some money so out of tow? You said, I don't have any money to give you to get your car out of tow. So the car didn't get out of tow. He lost the car, and he says it's your fault that he lost the car so he doesn't have to pay any more money.
Right.
Right? That's your defense.
Yep.
Do you want to say that to me? Because I've said it now, but I would like to hear it coming from your mouth, Jason.
Well, I borrowed the money, I got the car, then where I was staying, I was forced to move, and I couldn't move the car at the time because it was broken down at the time.
So where did you leave it?
In front of my friend's house.
How long did you leave it there?
Like maybe a week before it got towed because I had to get it fixed, and I was fixing it, and then I'm trying to
Well, you
work.
could have pushed it into somebody's driveway or something.
I didn't
right?
have no driveway to put it in.
Did you call your mom and say to her, listen, can I leave the car in your driveway?
Well, I didn't think to ask her that, and
You didn't
then I would have
think?
had to have it towed over there or something. I didn't have the money for that either.
So you think it's her fault that she didn't lend you more money?
Yeah, so I can get the car. If I don't have a car, why should I give her the money for it?
Let me ask you this question, Jason. How old are you?
22.
Did you go to high school?
Yeah.
Did you finish?
No.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you look like a pretty stout kind of guy. Do you ever eat at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Go in, you order dinner, finish the dinner, they bring you the bill.
Yeah.
You look at the bill and you say, why do I have to pay this? There's nothing on my plate anymore. It's all gone. What do you mean? I want you to make believe that your mother is a bank. And instead of borrowing this money from your mother, you borrowed it from a bank. Same scenario. You're doing road work on the car in the public street where you're not allowed to do it. You leave the car on the street. Somebody gives you a free pass for a while, but after a week, they tow your car. You don't have money to get out. You call the bank. Say, listen, I owe you money on a car loan, but unless you loan me more money, so I can get my car out of tow. I'm not going to pay you any more money. Hello? Is this a crank call? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Does that sound foolish to you, Jason?
Yeah, it does.
So let's not sound foolish. I mean, the first foolish thing that you did was not graduate from high school, because then you would have had money, maybe, to fix your car. Now let's get to the other problem that you had. I'll hear you again, Mrs. Shapiro.
He was accused of stealing at work.
Stealing cash?
Stealing cash.
What kind of place were you working at the time, Jason?
It was like a diner, maybe.
It was a sandwich shop.
And what were you doing?
I was cooking.
And you were accused of stealing?
Yeah.
Out of the cash register?
I don't know. They never told me where it was from. They just told me money was missing, and they feel that I was doing it.
Okay. So he called you?
Correct.
What did he say when he called you?
That he was accused of stealing and that they were going to press charges and put him in jail unless he came up with the money.
And you said what?
I said, let's go meet with her.
With whom?
With his boss.
Fine. So you sat down with his boss?
With his boss in her office.
Go ahead.
And at that time, she basically told me exactly what had happened,
Well,
the
tell me,
amount of money that was taken.
When she sat at the meeting with you and your son and accused him of taking this money, what did he say?
He had admitted to doing it. And she was willing
How much
to
money are we
not-
talking about?
$2,715.
I didn't say nothing like that.
What did you say?
I told them that I wasn't admitting nothing.
No, don't look down. Look over here.
I wasn't going to pay them. I was going to go try and get an attorney, try and fight them and everything. I wasn't taking the rap. I didn't see no proof I did it. I didn't see nothing.
Just a second. We're not talking about proof. Listen to me very carefully, Jason. You got your listening ears on?
Yep.
Your mother says that at the meeting with your boss, you admitted taking the money. But if you say to me, I told them that I wasn't taking the rap for this because I didn't do it, the fact that your mother is a liar. Is that what you want to tell me?
That's what I said.
What did you say?
I said that...
No,
I didn't
don't
say
look
that.
down. Look over here.
I said I didn't say that.
You said you didn't say what?
I didn't say that I took the money.
What did you say?
I said that I was going to try and fight it.
With what?
However I could.
Is that what you told your mother?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what you told your mother.
I didn't tell my mom really anything. I just said I wasn't going to... I didn't want to pay it. I didn't want to give him this money. I didn't want her to give him the money. I didn't want nothing. I just wanted to go try and get a lawyer or whatever and try and fight this out.
So then why in the world, Jason, did you call your mother and arrange to go to a meeting with her? And why did you go to the meeting with her? You had been told that you were accused of stealing. So there was no possible reason for you to call your mother or go to the meeting if what your intention was to say, fine, arrest me, I'm going to get a lawyer, and I'm going to fight these charges. You want to explain that to me?
Just figured she knew more than I did about this type of stuff, and she might be able to give me some kind of advice. What they were telling me.
Just a second. I can understand, Jason, you calling your mother at home and saying, Mom, I want to come over and talk to you. This is what they're accusing me of, and I didn't do it. I want to get a lawyer, and I want to fight it. What I don't understand, Jason, is why you called your mother and then went to a meeting with your boss, with your mother.
I just had her come with me.
Why? Why would you go at all? You knew what you were being accused of.
I don't know. I just went.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. Just say to your mother when she wrote out the check or paid them the money.
Nothing. I didn't actually see that happen.
Well, you knew she did it, right?
Yeah, I didn't say nothing to her, though.
You didn't say anything?
No, I was...
Like, thanks, Mom, for bailing me out, or I don't want you to pay this money because I didn't do this. I'd rather we spend the money on a lawyer so I can have a clear name. Didn't say that?
No.
Did you make an arrangement with your mother to pay her back out of your paychecks?
No, I never set that up.
Who did?
I guess the lady that I was working for did.
And how many days did you work after your mother gave them the money?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
Why did you leave?
Because they were harassing me.
Who was
at the
harassing
job.
you?
The bosses. They were talking about me in front of me, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about that, so I quit.
And where did you go to work?
I went to another job. I got a job at Dairy Queen.
For how long?
About a month.
And where'd you go after that?
That was just a couple weeks ago. I haven't had a job yet since then.
The maximum limit in the small claims court in your jurisdiction is $3,000. Is that why you sued for $3,000? That's what you owe your mother. Who are you living with?
My friend.
What does your friend do for a living?
He works in, like, he makes the glass for the slot machines in the casinos.
Do you know that you sound to me like you're lost? Seriously. You sound to me as if you're lost, and unless you get control of your life, sir, it's going to be over before you know it. You can't be an irresponsible baby forever. Comes a time when you have to grow up and take responsibility for what you do and not make everybody else's life miserable. Your mother doesn't owe you anything anymore. Now you're on your own. Leave her alone. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been hard. It's been hard, but I mean, I love my son.
I was frustrated with the comments they were making. I was getting mad. I didn't want to get too angry and go try and fight one of them or something, so I just left.
I've always loved my son. I love all my kids, but it just was a matter that had to be taken care of.
Maybe we can start talking and be cool again.
I hope we can just all get along. I love you.
Love you too.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Govis versus Epley. Step forward.
22-year-old Catherine Govis is suing the father of her child, 23-year-old Brian Epley, for the value of a computer. Brian claims he supported Catherine the entire time they lived together.
Miss Govis, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
You have a baby?
Yes.
How old is the baby?
6 months.
How old are you?
23.
Who do you live with?
My parents.
Well, there was a time that you lived together because you have a child together. That didn't last very long, and according to your complaint, he owes you for a computer that you purchased on your credit while you were together. Mr. Epley says that you left the computer when you left him, and you left the computer because he had supported you for 6 months while you were pregnant, and your arrangement was that you were each supposed to contribute to half of the expenses for the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Is there any reason why you decided to have this child?
We were together for 3 years off and on.
Together off and on, Miss Govis suggests to me that when it was off, it was because it wasn't good, right?
Yes.
Did you think having a baby was going to make it better?
No.
Your parents, did they have other children?
Yes.
How old are they?
We're all 2 years apart. I have older brothers and sisters.
So all of a sudden, your mother's taking care of a baby again?
Yep.
Terrific. And you don't even live in the same state.
No, ma'am.
Do your parents see their grandchild?
No.
I'm suggesting to you that you just think about things before you do them. Like buying an expensive piece of equipment on credit. Now, you want to tell me how that came about?
He was going to school and working at the same time, and he was working nights, so for him to wake up and go to the library to use a computer and all that, it was too difficult and too time-consuming, so he asked me to get him a computer on my
play
credit.
with your nails.
Sorry. He asked me to get him a computer on my account because he has bad credit. My parents paid for his bankruptcy, which was a couple months prior. He got that all settled, and then in February of the next year, I got him the computer. And 3 weeks later, we broke up.
Were you pregnant when they paid for his bankruptcy?
No.
Your Honor, they didn't pay for my bankruptcy. It was $600 for me to file bankruptcy. I only had $400 of it at the time, and they lent me the other $200 that I didn't have to go ahead and file for it.
Did you pay him back?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not. My father would not take the money from him.
But you offered.
I offered the money.
Oh, that's fine. Your credit card. When you left, what was the discussion about the computer?
That he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges started coming in.
Oh, so you bought it for 6 months free financing. And you did discuss it when you left?
Yes.
Tell me about the discussion.
He said that he would have it paid off by August before the finance charges because he didn't want to pay any extra money on it. He told me to go ahead and send in for the $100 rebate and send that in towards the computer, but I never got the $100 rebate back from it.
Did you send in for it?
Yes. I don't know if I put the old address and it just didn't come within the time frame of my change of address or what.
A detail.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Epley. Let me hear.
Okay. We moved in together on January 1st of 2005. I moved her down there from Illinois. That's whenever we got together. And I told her at that point in time, you know, I wasn't in a hurry for her to get a job, but I would appreciate the help. We lived there for 4 months, and then we moved into a more expensive place, and I told her I needed her help at that time. We agreed she would pay half the bills and half the rent to help me out, as well as I was going to school full-time and working full-time. So whenever she left, she said, okay.
No. Okay, needed help. And when you told her you needed help and she agreed to pay for half of the expenses, sir, in what month was that?
That was in February of 2005.
And in what month did she become pregnant?
I believe it was September, October.
Between February of 05 and August of 05, did she work?
For about a month, Your Honor.
Did you work?
I worked for about 3 months.
Who did you work for?
I worked for temp service.
What'd you do with your money?
Gave it to him.
You contributed your money to the household?
No, ma'am.
And we got a car together, and I paid for the car payment, the gas,
Whatever.
and
She wasn't
insurance.
spending the money on drugs.
Oh.
So she was contributing what she could to the household. And in August, you became pregnant.
Yes.
So you stopped working?
No. I was working up until November.
So you stopped working, and you didn't contribute anymore?
No.
All right, now you tell me, sir, about the conversation you had about the computer when she left.
Whenever she left, her family came to Indiana to help her pack up to move back. And she said, you know, she only worked for a total of, it might have been 2
I
or
don't
3.
care. I don't care, sir. That's
she-
irrelevant to me.
But she owed me for the half of the rent for all the
She
months
doesn't
that
owe
she
you for
didn't
anything.
work.
I just want to know what she said.
She said, you can have the computer for the money that I owe you for all the expenses that you've paid to take care of me during this time.
You mean you never had the conversation with her, I'll pay you for this computer by August?
At the point whenever we broke up, I talked to her a couple months, like
No,
a month
no,
later.
look at
We
me.
were talking.
I asked you a question. That requires a simple answer. Did you ever have a discussion with her that the computer would be paid for by August?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you decide not to do that?
Because I felt that I did not owe her anything, Your Honor.
Well, feel. That's what we're talking about. So you see, you did have the discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
How much does he owe you for the computer?
After everything, it is now $1,750.79.
So, Mr. Repley, this is the situation. If you move in with somebody and things don't work out, that's one thing. She moves on, you move on. Takes two to tango, it takes two to make a baby. Takes two to have a problem if they don't want to have a baby. I believe her that she worked on and off, not consistently, not like you did. Maybe that was a good indication that she didn't want to get involved with somebody who was not keeping up their half of the bargain, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then what you don't do is have a baby with her. And there are things that you can do in order not to do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You owe us $1,750. You still have the computer?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I sold it.
Why?
Because I did a change of jobs and I was hurting on money, so I had to sell the computer.
Well, this is going to hurt even more. So now you don't have the computer. You have to pay for it.
Yes, ma'am.
$1,750. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I hope that we can still keep a strong friendship, you know, for the sake of our daughter.
We'll stay friends.
She deserves to see her father and her mother, so.
He'll be able to see her. His family won't, but he will.
Jessica Eveler says her half-sister, Melanie Zampino, stole furniture during tenancy in her home. Jessica claims she kicked Melanie out because she was using drugs.
Miss Evel, the defendant is your half-sister, and according to what I read, you only recently, in the last few years, had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you rented a home that you own to your sister with the understanding that she would have an option to buy it after she paid rent for a while.
Yes.
Subsequently, within a relatively short period of time after she moved in, you evicted her. But your lawsuit wants your furniture back. And you say when you left some furniture in the basement that was yours. You allowed her to use some furniture. But when she moved out, she took your things. The defendant says that you gave her a living room set, that the bedroom furniture that you claim you want back was actually repossessed by the company that you had rented it from, so she doesn't have that. And she is counterclaiming because she says that because of your precipitous behavior, which was not warranted by anything she did, she was forced to move. She had moving expenses. She was forced to move very quickly, and she wants to be compensated for that and all of her emotional distress. When did you lease her your house?
It was in July.
And when did you evict her?
I gave her notice September 10th.
Had she paid rent in August?
Yes.
Had she paid rent in September?
No.
Why did you evict her?
There was drug usage going on, and I only agreed to 4 people living in the house.
How did you know there was drug use going on in the house?
August 24th, my uncle had came there, and they smoked it right in front of him.
Smoked what?
Pot.
Who did?
Melanie and a guy named by the name of Brandon.
You agreed, you said, for 4 people to live in the house?
Yes.
Who were the 4 people?
Her, Christina New Church, which is right over there, and their...
Is this a friend?
It's my roommate. We've lived together for 9 years.
Okay.
And they have each 1 child.
How many people were living there?
Between 7 and 8.
Who else was living there?
I got 2 people that were not even residing there, a piece of mail of theirs.
Can I see?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Brandon?
My cousin. He did not live there. He stayed there occasionally during the week because Christina works third shift, and he tended the kids. I did pay
Where
him.
did he live otherwise?
He lived with his father.
Was Joseph?
My husband. Some of my utilities were in his name. My husband and I have been separated for...
Tell me about the furniture.
We did have a verbal agreement about the living room set. If she purchased the home, it would be added in with the cost of the house. However, she didn't buy the house, so the furniture didn't come with the house. And I did try to call her.
Go ahead. Let's deal with the living room furniture first.
Okay. When we discussed the house, she said to me, you can have my washer and dryer, you can have my living room set, you can have the bedroom set if you pay the last $150 to Color Time where she was renting her bedroom set from. I said, I have an antique set, I don't want the bedroom set, but I will take the living room set because mine is used. The living room set was stained with marker. One of her children must have wrote on it. Her husband works on cars. There's massive grease marks on the one where he must have sat regularly, which I have all pictures to show. She gave me the living room set. She never said if you purchase the home or if we don't come back, because when she actually on September 10th asked me to move out, she told me it was because her grandmother threw her out of the house that she was staying in South Carolina. I do not use drugs, and I'm
Can I see a picture of this living room set that she wants back?
Of just the living room set in question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did bring pictures of my old living room set just to show you why I would switch.
You're talking about the sofas and the end tables as well?
And the coffee table. And I did attempt to take pictures of the markings.
For when I left, there might have been a little bit of like grease stains, but there was no marker on my living room set. It was only...
When did you purchase it?
February of 2 years ago.
You have a receipt for it? Mm-hmm. Can I see it, please? And who lived in the house with you?
My husband and my 2 children.
How old are your children?
1 and 2.
This doesn't tell me when you purchased it. Take that, please, Bud. Return that to her. I don't know what this furniture looked like when you left, but certainly a month later, it looks pretty used and pretty abused to me. And when you have 2 young children, that's what furniture like this looks like. Certainly not worth much. You'd have to pay somebody to take it out. You would. You'd have to pay somebody to take out these 2 sofas. What's next? What about the bedroom's furniture?
I purchased that, and I actually have the original bill. And when I got into my house in late September, I came to clean it up and stuff. The bed was set up, but it was sliced. The bed was set up in the basement like someone had been sleeping there.
So what are you talking about, just the mattress?
The mattress and the headboard was damaged, and I have pictures of that.
Who slept on the mattress?
When we lived there, me and my husband.
When I lived there, no one. I had my own set.
Fine. Did you slice the mattress?
I did not. I also have a letter from Color Time saying that they repossessed her bedroom furniture that she left in the basement.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the mattress.
Oh.
And they took the dressers, by the way, because I had asked them to take the dressers.
We're not talking about a whole bunch of money. I mean, we're certainly not talking about $3,500. Maybe we're talking about $100. I'm just trying to figure out why we're all here.
I'd like to make a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Judge Judy, because I feel that we're here for the same reason that Jessica, the only time she ever interacts with me is when there's trouble to be made. When she needs something, she'll call me. When she needs a babysitter, she'll call me. I actually paid money to find her because I wanted to know my sister. And the only thing that's coming out of this, no matter how you look at it, is a destroyed relationship.
That's unfortunate. When did she tell you to move?
September 10th.
And when did you move?
She gave me until September 28th when she started calling the law and having her stepfather threaten to put me out the quote-unquote old-fashioned way.
Did anything happen September 10th that precipitated this?
No.
I basically had coming back to Pennsylvania. My grandma her name's on the house also, so she had a decision to make, and she made that.
That doesn't give me an answer. That's a lot of double talk. You were coming back to live there. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So you were coming back to live there, so you told her to move.
Yes. Well, the drug usage was the reason why.
No. Because if the drug usage was the reason why, you would have told her to move on August 24th or August 25th. You didn't. Or the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You told her to move on September 10th because you had to come back to your house. So stop making up excuses. You get it?
Yes.
And you had a responsibility to give her 30 days notice. You didn't do that.
In that town, you only have to legally give 10 days.
Because you're not allowed to legally rent without a renter's permit, and she didn't have one.
Not nice. Okay. So you get nothing. Not even the $100 that maybe your mattress is worth if it was destroyed, and maybe your coffee tables were worth. Because what you did was the wrong thing, because they're living there with, let's say, 4 people, including 2 children. 2 children who by September 10th have started school, have settled in, and because you can't live where you were going to live and had to come home, you told them to move and gave them what I consider no notice. Not even the right thing to do to a stranger, but to do to somebody who's related to you? Outrageous. Now, where did you move?
I live in Dover. I'd like not to say exactly where because I don't...
Fine. Did you pay her September's rent?
I did. I have that here.
Can I see it, please?
Then she didn't pay August. She paid 1 month.
How many months' rent did you pay?
I only paid September because when she moved, I was supposed to move in September 1st. When she moved, she had gone down to South Carolina and came back. There was some, like, flooding. People were messing around with her house. She said, Melanie, please just move in as soon as possible. I had to clean up as well.
Just a second. When did you move in?
Mid-July.
Well, then you should have paid 2 months' rent. You only paid 1. You saved a little bit of money so that you had enough money to put down on another apartment. I'm gonna entertain.
Yes, the only problem that I had was just finding something. We moved, we
And you
lived
found
just
something?
fine. Yes.
That's good.
Can I say something, Matt? The electric and gas was shut off September 22nd. When my grandfather went, the 26th, everything was moldy, the freezer, everything. So they were out for a
Listen
while.
to me very carefully. You did the wrong thing. You wanted to move back to your house. You wanted her out. It had nothing to do with drugs or other people living there. It had to do with you coming home because you had no place else to live. So I don't know why you're suing her, because the truth of the matter is, if you hadn't brought this lawsuit, she wouldn't have counterclaimed. She was willing to forget it.
Yes, I
Forget
redid an
it.
entire
It's over.
room.
It's over. You did the wrong thing. You owe an apology, not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers.
Yep. Yep.
You ought to make a movie out of you. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Janelle Foley's.
That would be you?
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice?
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a 4-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Ms. Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
I knew you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, it was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house. Sorry. We were at her house, like having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get together. I could
How many
say.
people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there, and then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka,
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
No! Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, And she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
And didn't see Miss Lager's car?
No.
Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think they would make up that kind of story?
To make it look good for themselves?
Nah. They could have just said, you know, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make him stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight. And he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked him, it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
Stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
She was always around anyways.
Oh.
Because I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich?
Yeah.
You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Can you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's going to give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a
Miss
thief.
Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
credit, yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night.
And later today,
He was not like that the way we were.
He was always like, you mean he's a psychopath? He's got bipolar disorder?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Lager says former friends Brent and Nick Boots vandalized her car by jumping on the hood and kicking the doors.
Now, when you do something wrong, fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember because you were drinking a liter of vodka what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car and the photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
He didn't. Nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her youngest son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while they just, you know.
See, they'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident.
Yeah, her car was in an accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How
possibly.
much did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff happens all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the hood of a car?
No. Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
yeah, no, you're erroneous.
No.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and irrelevant.
And the car's not even worth that much to begin with.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't.
No. You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll
Listen,
be in
you
the
couldn't
ditch.
walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous and she's money hungry.
I was asking like $1,500 to begin with, and they said I was shady for asking $1,500.
They got money that they shouldn't have got.
Jessica's a thief. She took his digital camera from his girlfriend, and she walked out of the grocery store with 2 rotisserie chickens.
I'm just surprised that the boys said that they didn't do it.
It's ruining a long friendship. Not going to talk to her.
Just make sure you trust the people, because I trust them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Costin, Lutka versus Green. Step forward.
Tina Carson and her son, 16-year-old Keith Lutker, are suing 22-year-old Adam Green for a refund on a 1988 Honda CRX. Tina says Adam sold the car to her minor son without her permission.
Keith, is that your mom?
Yes, this is.
You wanted a car. You saw a car that Mr. Green was selling?
Yes, ma'am.
And despite the fact that you were told, don't buy the car till we see it, you got the money. Where did you get the money from?
I previously had the money from a car that I was going to buy down in Pacific, Missouri, but the guy was a no-show, so I kept the money in my drawer in case he called me back.
When had you taken the money out?
Around February 20th.
And where did you take the money from? Your savings account?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you went over to Mr. Green. How much money did you ultimately give him for the car?
$2,400.
What kind of car was it, Mr. Green?
It was a 88 Honda CRX.
How long have you had the car?
Probably about 5 years.
Who did you buy it from?
Private owner.
When you bought the car, who did you go with to buy the car?
My parents.
And you went with your parents because?
I was 16 or 17 at the time. I couldn't remember exactly.
And so you had to be with your parents?
Correct.
Right. And do you know why that is, Mr. Green?
Because I was a minor.
Right. And do you know what he is?
A minor.
So when he told you he wanted his money back because his parents hit the roof, that he took his $2,400 and gave it to you, what did you say?
I said I can refund it. I sold him the car as is without a refund.
Don't you understand what you just said to me? You just said to me that you understood that when you bought this car 5 years ago, you were 16 or 17, you had to go with your parents because you were a minor, because you couldn't enter into a contract. He's 16 years old. You have no defense to this case, sir. Well is not an answer. How much did you pay for the car? 5 years ago?
$5,500.
Well, getting $2,400 is a pretty good return on your money after you use the car for 5 years. What's the book value of the car?
Book value was
Very easy to figure out. So what's the book value of the car?
probably around $1,100.
So not only did you sell the car to a minor, you sold it and took advantage of him.
Well, I made a lot of repairs and
I don't care whether you made a
modifications.
lot of repairs or whether you outfitted the car for the Queen of England. If the book value of the car is $1,100 and you found a 16-year-old sucker to buy it for $2,400, you got a lot of nerve.
He made me that offer, ma'am.
You got a lot of nerve, sir. You are a little amoral. It means that while you are aware of the fact that you couldn't enter into a contract, you forced them to bring a lawsuit against you to get their money back. What do you do for a living?
I'm a salesman
For whom?
for a retail electronics store,
Where?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Do you tell people the truth when you're selling them a product?
Yes, I do.
Did you tell him the truth about this car?
I told him every problem that it had.
Did you tell him that the book value of the car was $1,100?
No, ma'am.
If a customer came into your store and said, I want to buy that television set, and I really like that television set, and I'm going to give you $500 for it, and the television set sells for $250, would you sell it to them for $500?
No, ma'am.
Why not? Because it's dishonest. Dishonest. You would be taking advantage of somebody who wasn't either wrapped too tight or who was a minor, who didn't know their way around. You don't want to grow up to be a dishonest person, do you, Mr. Green?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,400. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It seemed like a really good car, but after my mom told me about all the dangers it had, I felt like I just bought the biggest piece in the world.
It was, a little speed racer, like a Fast and the Furious type vehicle.
The vehicle was located in my driveway, and my conversation with him was probably not aired for TV.
It's, I guess, kind of ridiculous that he had to learn a lesson at my expense.
He'll never do anything like this again, that's for sure.
26-year-old Jamie Martin is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 25-year-old Thomas Say, for a loan to pay his child support. Thomas claims Jamie gave him the money out of kindness.
Miss Martin, according to what I read, you met the defendant on the internet. You started dating him. He needed some money because he was behind in his child support. You made a loan to him for his child support, and he has to pay you back.
Correct.
Mr. Say acknowledges or says that you gave him money to pay off his child support obligation, but that it was a gift and a nice gesture. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you meet him?
In August of last year.
And when did he tell you he had a problem with his child support?
Probably around October.
Had he borrowed money before that?
No, but he was living in my house.
He was?
Yes.
When did he move in?
Probably in September.
Met him in August, moved in September.
Yeah, bad choice.
Bad choice, very bad choice. You work?
I'm a part-time cashier.
What do you do for the rest of the time?
Oh, nothing. I'm trying to go full-time.
How do you support yourself?
With my job.
As a part-time cashier, who pays your rent?
I have a mortgage. I pay myself.
What's your mortgage?
$530.
Do you have any other source of income?
I sold a house in Florida. I still have a little bit of money left from that.
You're living in California?
No, South Carolina.
What prompted you to move from Florida to South Carolina?
My parents moved up there and they gave me some land.
Parents subsidize you?
Meaning?
Give you money?
No.
How much do you make from being a part-time cashier?
$8.
Where did you get the $3,000 from that you loaned to him?
When I sold my house in Florida, I had money in the bank that I was saving.
Show me that you withdrew $3,000 and gave it to me. When was he supposed to pay you back?
It was supposed to be an every month payment, no less than $100.
And when did you stop seeing him?
I kicked him out of the house in November.
Why?
Because he was getting to the point where all he wanted to do was go drinking and not coming home at night, so I decided I didn't want to put up with that.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
How many children do you have, Mr. Say?
1.
How old?
2.
And where does that child live?
With me and my wife. She didn't kick me out. I was separated. And when I went back to my wife, I left her.
Okay.
That's when all this came to the head.
God. Fine. But she gave you money for child support.
Yes.
Why were you behind in your child support payments?
It was based on income that I wasn't making any longer.
Because you can't hold a job.
Listen, Ms. Martin,
I'm sorry.
They based the money that I was making when the child support was set up was based on about $70,000 to $75,000 a year. I was making about half of that. Every month when I would send money, it fell further and further behind. We were supposed to revisit the issue in November. However, right before the court came, that's when she gave me $3 grand. It was a gift.
It's your kid.
Yes, ma'am.
You idiot. It's not hers. If you fall behind in your child support, you pay for it. That's what it is. It's for a parent to pay child support. What's wrong with you? Don't you have any pride at all?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it? Show me. Where is it?
I left it at the house.
Right. I don't think you're adorable, sir. She may have found you marginally attractive when she allowed you to move into her house for some bizarre reason. I have to tell you, whatever it is that you think you have, it eludes me.
I'm sorry,
It eludes me, sir.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
It eludes me. You know, there are acts sometimes of sheer desperation that bring people together. You are one of those sheer desperations. When you have an order for child support, you live up to your responsibility, and you do not rely on strangers to take care of it. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why in the world your wife took you back, I have no clue. You have family that's living?
Yes.
They must have prayed very hard for her to take you back.
Must have.
It is not Miss Martin's obligation to support your kid, which is a boy or a girl.
Little girl.
Wonderful. I'm sure you absolutely adore her. Has Miss Martin ever met her?
No, ma'am.
Never even exchanged a meal with her. Why in the world do you think that she'd want to put bread on her table?
She offered it when I went. We were...
He's going to answer me. He's going to answer this question. Rather than just accept his whooping, he is going to actually answer this question. Let me explain something to you, sir. Where do you come from?
South Carolina.
I do not find you adorable. I find nothing about you adorable. I think that you're an irresponsible fool. You owe her $3,000. Pay her. That's all. Claim that after an evening of drinking, Mr. Schiller purposely damaged your car.
Yes.
Mr. Schiller says that he did not damage your car, and in any event, you don't take responsibility for things that you do because a month or so previous to this incident, you got drunk and got sick on his carpeting and didn't take responsibility for that. So that's what happens when you get drunk. That's your defense.
That's basically correct, yes.
All right. Let's get to my favorite part of this. Let's get to the drinking part. What date did this incident allegedly happen, Mr. Sherman?
March 25th, 2005.
What time?
About 1 o'clock in the morning.
What day of the week was the 25th of March?
I believe it was a Saturday.
So nobody had school or work. Do you work or go to school?
I go to college, and I also
Where?
work. Longview Community College.
Okay. Where did you start your drinking, Mr. Sherman, on Saturday night?
Went to a party, I believe it was a high school party in a rural area. I didn't know the person's house. I was taken there with my witness, Sean.
How many people were there?
I'd say about 50, 55.
Oh, good. I love this part. There were 50 or 55 high school kids?
Yeah, give or take.
A lot of drinking?
A lot of drinking.
Was it a nice house?
Not really.
Not when they got finished with it. The parents home?
No.
You know, I think when you have teenage children, you should just make a pact. You don't go away.
That's right.
You just don't go away.
Take them with you or lock them up.
Right. They should have sort of a kennel for them. So that the parents can go away. So these 50 teenagers are drinking in a house. Some other guys, you know, older college men like you show up, more responsible, and you're drinking. Now, was everybody bringing their own booze, or was it... What did you bring?
I didn't bring anything. I wasn't drinking, Your Honor.
Not at all?
No.
Who was driving?
I was.
What were you drinking? Is not an answer.
I was
but
drinking.
Standing up is good.
I was drinking Miller Lite.
How many did you bring?
12-pack.
12? Just for you?
Yeah.
And the two of you went together?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know the people whose party it was?
I just got calls from friends and...
Sort of out of the loop. You know, teenage kids have passed me by a long time ago. When you get the call, what does the call usually say?
There's a party, and come over, and blah, 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 and then you get directions, and just go.
Now you can sit down, Sean, until I need you again. Okay, so what happened at the party, Mr. Sherman?
Well, I went to the party, started talking with some friends, gazed over and saw Mr. Schiller here. He was with his best friends, and they were making faces at me, laughing and towards my direction, and I just got real embarrassed and really just distraught about the whole thing. And then they started making puking motions at me.
Had you gotten sick on Mr. Schiller's carpet the
Yes.
month before?
Yeah, I did.
And did you make arrangements to have the carpet cleaned up?
He refused my help. He said, no, I've had enough with you. He just told me to get out of his house.
Okay. Did he subsequently call you and ask you to pay to have the carpet cleaned?
Not till a week later.
A week later. I said subsequently. Subsequently can be a week.
Okay.
So he called you a week later, and what did you say to him?
I said, no, I'm not going to pay for that.
Okay. Let's cut to the party's over, and you got to the party at what time?
9:30ish.
9:30, and you left about 12:30, 1:45?
Yeah.
Good. And all that time you didn't have a beer?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Almost doesn't pay to go to the party.
Oh, you have a good time there. Socialize. I don't think you have to drink to have a good time.
Any drug? Yeah, well.
No. No drugs.
No drugs?
No drugs, Your Honor.
Any drugs?
No.
Just drinking?
Just drinking.
How much did he drink?
About case.
Okay, so now it's 12:30, 1:45. And you leave?
Yeah, I decided to leave. I was
So,
tired of it.
Now, pick it up from there, Mr. Sherman.
Mr. Schiller and his friends were extremely drunk. I walked out to my car, and they ran in front of me and started pushing my car into a ditch. At that point, I got in the car, told Sean to get in the car, and started the ignition and headed out. They continued to follow me in their Chevy Blazer. Started yelling out the window and flashing their lights, honking their horn, tapping me on the
You
road.
mean acting stupid?
Yeah,
Okay,
acting
so they're
stupid.
acting stupid. What's next?
After that, I got to my house, stepped up on the front porch. They rolled up right behind me, honking the horn, telling me that they want to kick my... And I told them to leave, and they revved their engine and slammed into the back of my car, Your Honor, and then drove off. At that point, I was in shock and called the police. I have the police report right
Can
here.
I see it, please?
Yes.
Have a photograph of the damage?
Yes. I also have an estimate.
I'd like to see that, too. Now I'll hear you, sir.
About a month before this incident occurred,
I know months before you,
Yeah.
you got sick and he ruined your carpet.
ruined
and
the carpet, damage.
You wanted him to pay
Well,
for
not
it.
only that, though, he tried to fight me in my own house.
He got drunk.
He got drunk.
He has a drinking problem.
He cost me, yeah. Well,
He has
he
a
blacked
drinking
out, and I
problem.
let him pass out on the ground.
Listen to me, Mr. Schiller. He has a drinking problem.
He's an alcoholic.
I don't have a drinking problem. He has a drinking problem.
He has a...
Mr. Sherman, I want you to trust me on this one. I have a nose. You shouldn't drink. Keep going.
Well, we were outside. He basically invited us over to try to fight him. He
How
wanted
did
to fight.
he do that?
What, screaming down the road. Sean actually was yelling out the window, come over and fight us.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's... Listen, Mr. Sherman. See, that's what happens when you have a drinking problem. You can't control yourself. Mr. Sherman, do you understand?
Yes.
Understand how quiet he was when you were testifying? Didn't interfere. When you have a drinking problem, even if you haven't been drinking, you lose control of the ability to have control of yourself. Like right now. Mr. Sherman, if I can tell that you, as a 19-year-old kid, drinks too much, by the time you're 30, it's going to be over.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I just wanted to get this settled, maybe talk out with him, but...
And you thought, Mr. Schiller, the appropriate time to talk to Mr. Sherman was when he had had a case of beer.
Well, that's the only time to talk to him.
Mr. Schiller, don't play with me, sir.
And later today,
She told me that whenever her son Kenneth was moving up to Kansas City and that his father had a lot of money and they were going to get full custody and make me out to be an unfit mother.
I never said that. Just a second.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Sherman says acquaintance Jothan Schiller rammed his car in a drunken rage. Jothan claims it's Justin who is the troublemaker.
All right. So now you are at Mr. Sherman's house because this idiot over here challenged you to a duel.
Yes.
And you were sufficiently sophisticated in control of yourself to say, I'm not going to get started with this. I'm going to go home. Whoops. No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go over and fight them. Right? Now, you go over there, you honk your horn, and they don't come?
No, they ran inside as soon as we got there.
Right, and you honk your horn.
Yes, I honked.
And they didn't want to come out to fight you?
No, they did not want to. When they had offered first. I mean, I didn't want to fight him. I just wanted to get this settled, maybe talk out with him, but...
And you thought, Mr. Schiller, the appropriate time to talk to Mr. Sherman was when he had a case of beer?
Yes. Well, that's the only time to talk to him.
No. You thought that the appropriate time to talk to him when he would be in
whenever
control
you see
of
him,
his senses.
he's usually been drinking.
Mr. Schiller, don't play with me, sir.
Well,
all right. And it's your statement that after you honked your horn and they refused to come out, you drove away and you did not back into the car.
I was parked in the driveway, so it might have appeared that I was close, but maybe his prior damage.
So that's your statement? Very good. What year is your car, sir?
A 91 Buick LeSabre.
Okay.
It holds sentimental value, Your Honor.
What?
It was my great-grandfather's. That's why I want it fixed. It holds sentimental value.
Well, I don't get sentimental over a car, sir. You know, maybe a vintage Rolls Royce. But I got to tell you something. You should have it fixed. You're not going to have it fixed for $2,000. You find a ding doctor who can fix it maybe for $500. But I'm going to tell you both. If you continue to drink and act stupid, that's what happens. You ruin carpet. He hits your car. You're just lucky you didn't kill somebody else that evening because you had all been drinking. I have very little sympathy for either one of you. Anyway, you're suing him for $2,000 because that's the estimate that you had. The whole car's not worth $2,000. Get somebody to fix it for $500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just completely outraged. I didn't cause any damage to his car. He's just, like she said, a drinking problem, so that's just the person that we're dealing with.
I don't have a drinking problem. I never did, never will. He's the one with the drinking problem. That's why he hit me.
Alcoholism runs in his family, so he just doesn't have, he also doesn't have regard for society.
I never wanted to start a fight. I was just wanted him to go away. That's what I was saying.
He drives home after parties and gets a car accident.
Samantha Cameron is suing ex-boyfriend Christopher Potts for the return of furniture and appliances, as well as rent money and a security deposit. Christopher claims he owes her nothing.
Ms. Cameron, you and Mr. Potts were in a relationship. According to your complaint, you decided to relocate with him. You got a job opportunity in Florida. You went down to Florida, two of you found an apartment, you put down a deposit, first month's rent, and Mr. Potts went down to Florida before you did.
Correct.
When he got there, he had a change of heart. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you have a change of heart, sir?
Well, because at the time she wasn't actively looking for a job in Florida, and I didn't feel like she would be a real reliable person to share all the bills with.
So you were sort of looking for a solid business partner?
Well, I didn't want to put myself in a hole. It would have been easier for me to take care of myself versus me taking care of myself, another person, a small child.
Because you have a daughter who was relocating with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mr. Potts, how much money did she put down on the apartment?
I'm not sure exact dollar figure.
You know the exact dollar figure?
Yes, ma'am. It was $877.50.
So my question to you, Mr. Potts, is what arrangements did you make to get her back her $877?
Well, there really wasn't at first any arrangement because the money that she put down towards the apartment is basically money that I put towards the cost of the moving.
Well, because you were supposed to move.
Well, I was moving.
You both were moving.
Right. If we're both moving, then we both should be coming out of pocket for money.
Well, how much did you pay for all the moving of her stuff, sir?
All right, I had purchased their shipping containers where you load them up yourself. Well, originally I only needed one. The pods were originally $850 a piece. I had paid the $850, and to get an additional pod was $850, so $1,700.
Show me that you paid for $1,700, sir. Show me.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I don't have receipts for that.
Where'd you think you were coming to today? To the beach?
Well, that was 7 months ago, so.
7 months ago is a minute, sir. So, I'm going to ask you again, what arrangements did you make to get her back her money, $877?
Well, I paid over $900 to ship her stuff back, which...
As well you should.
I don't agree.
Well, I don't give a rat's behind whether you agree or not. Whether you agree with me, Mr. Potts, is not particularly relevant in my life. That's why you come to court. I don't believe you, sir, that you paid $1,700 for a pod for you and for her.
For two of them. They're $850 a piece.
What I'm telling you, sir, is show me. Other than your great looks, Mr. Potts, what you have to do is have proof. Proof is a receipt, a paid bill for exactly what it was, and you don't have it.
No, I don't.
Right. You chose to breach the agreement that you had by telling her once she had sent down her stuff that you didn't want her to move there for your own reasons.
No, for the reasons that it was better for everybody.
Fine. Listen to me. That's a judgment that you made. Fine. But then, once you have made that judgment, what you have to do is make Miss Cameron whole. Whole.
Which I did by sending her belongings.
I'm speaking when my mouth moves, yours doesn't. By making Miss Cameron whole, you have to return her property to her at your expense. It would be untoward of you to think that you changed your mind and now you say you want your stuff back. You have to pay for the shipping of it back to New Jersey. That's ridiculous, Mr. Potts. Now, I believe him that he packed up your boxes and sent them back, that he spent money, as well he should, because it was his option to change his mind, thereby voiding the agreement that you had to move in together. Now, if you want these other items, washer, dryer, table, and chairs, you can make arrangements to get them at your expense. Do you understand? Because I don't think you really want.
That was part of our agreement.
Well, it's unfortunate. I don't know if I believe you. In any event, he owes you $877, which was your down payment. Have you sent it?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Send it. Judgment for the plaintiff, $877. Thank you. That's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Plaster versus Deal. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Shirley Bonnie Plaster is suing her former friend, 25-year-old homemaker Tamara Deal, for unpaid child care fees. Tamara says Bonnie agreed to take her children so they wouldn't have to live in a gang-infested neighborhood.
Ms. Plaster, it is your claim that the defendant, who has 3 children, owes you for child care. Her children lived with you for a period of time. She gave you some money, but you still claim she owes you $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Deal says she owes you nothing because of one of 2 things. Either you waived any support during the mediation that you evidently had about something, and second, that there was never any agreement to pay you for taking care of her children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was she taking care of your children?
I had some problems in the neighborhood that I was living in, and it was basically a bad community, and I had to do what was best and get my children out of there as soon as possible.
And how long did they all stay with you?
From June the 11th, Bradley stayed with me until March the 4th, and then the others from August and October until March the 4th.
Where were you living during all of this time?
I recently...
Richard, don't look down. Look at me.
I recently moved out of the apartment that I was moving in because of the community, and I went to stay in hotels. That's why I thought it was best that Bonnie helped me out and take care of my kids.
Who were you living in the hotels with?
Me and the father of my children.
You have a drug problem?
No, ma'am.
Did he?
No, ma'am.
So then why weren't you working?
We were working.
Well, 2 people working, it would seem to me you could have some sort of place for your children.
Right. At the time, you know, struggling, trying to keep up the bill of the hotel and the gas to go back and forth to work and the money to eat on, it took us a long time to try to save the money up so that we could get on our feet.
You knew Miss Plaster through your mother, is that right?
Not only through my mother, but she took custody of my cousin when he was about 9 months old.
How old is he now?
16.
So she's a very good parent.
Yes.
What arrangements did you make to pay her for taking care of your children?
I gave her $150 a week, every week.
Is that right?
She was paying me $150, then she fell behind in November and stopped paying me.
How come?
Back in November, I lost my brother. I had to take some leave of absence from work, and when I went to go back to work in December, they asked me not to come back because I had been off work for so long, so I wasn't getting a check every week. And then 2 weeks after that, my grandmother passed away as well.
Now, what about the father of these children?
He was with me.
Why wasn't he giving her any money?
He wasn't bringing home much. You know, $200-300 a week is basically getting us by. I mean, it's $350 for a week of hotel.
It's $350 a week for hotel, madam. You can find a small apartment for less than that.
No, not where we live.
Where do you live?
In Virginia.
Sure you
It's
can.
$1,200 a month for an apartment.
Yeah.
And when you're bringing home $300 a week, that's not making it much. It's
Well,
not
you
gonna
just
make a
told me
rent
it was $350 a week for a hotel room.
Yeah, and we were struggling. And that's why I told Mrs. Plaster that when I got my taxes that I would give her some money because I didn't pay her in November when I lost my job.
So how much money did you give her?
$1,000.
And how much money do you owe her?
Nothing. After I gave her the $1,000, nothing was said until I was served with a court paper.
Ms. Plaster, I'll hear you.
She paid me $1,000 February the 12th, and I watched the kids from February the 12th to March the 4th when they took them out of there. She owed me $2,000 on February the 12th. She gave me $1,000.
So she owes you $1,600.
Right. But I rounded off to make it just even $1,500.
She said in November, I assume when you stopped working, you got behind.
Correct.
And you were behind $2,000. You gave her $1,000 at that time in February.
That's not right. I mean, a month, that's $600. Okay, that's what I, you know, if I owe her anything, that's what I should have been owing her. But I gave her the $1,000 in February because I didn't give her any money for December.
When you gave her the $1,000 in February, did you take your children home?
No, I took them home
Just a
in
second.
March.
So they stayed with her for another month, another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Are they with you now?
Yes, they are.
Who else do you live with?
The father of my kids.
You have 3 children with this man. Is there any reason why you're not married to him?
The time isn't right. I mean...
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all. Thank you.
You know, a week after I sent my children to her, a guy got shot in the neighborhood.
Now I'm missing the kids because they had moved back with her.
We're still going to be friends, communicate. I don't have any problems against her. I just wish maybe she could have talked to me about it more.
She just wouldn't pay me the money.
I'm very appreciative of what she has done for me. Like I said, I tried to help her out the best I could, too.
John Allen claims former friend Karen Stevenson owes for a loan of $1,800.
Mr. Allen, it is your claim that the defendant borrowed some money from you. She's a former girlfriend of yours. Ms. Stevenson says that you're a con guy. She never borrowed any money from you. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
Okay. Yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we decided to part ways, and we remained friends. On about the middle of September, about a week before I actually loaned her the money, she called me in desperation, said Lisa had taken a checkbook that no longer existed, a checking account, wrote a check out for $1,800. She needed money, that the bank was pressing charges, and
she wrote out a bad check?
Yes, Lisa.
Is Lisa here?
No.
Where is she?
She lives in Florida.
Who does she live with in Florida?
Herself.
What does she do for a living?
She's a cashier.
Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever been charged with crime?
Lisa? No.
Lisa?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So at the time, when she called me, she said, I need this money. If I don't pay this $1,800 back...
For Lisa?
For Lisa, they're going to arrest me because it was drawn on my bank account. So...
Oh, just a minute. Where do you live?
Salisbury, Maryland.
You live in Maryland, and somehow Lisa got hold of one of her old checkbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa forged a check for $1,800.
Yes.
But there was no longer an account.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa cashed a check in Florida.
Somewhere, I don't know actually, when she said, but it was a check written on this account, and it bounced, so the bank was going to press charges, and if she didn't pay the money back, they were going to put her in jail.
Put who in jail?
Karen.
It's not true.
She didn't write a bad check.
Well, that's what she told me, ma'am.
That sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? How old are you?
I'm 40, be 42 in March, ma'am.
42. What do you do for a living?
I have a few businesses. I'm going back to school, getting my real estate degree, and
What kind of businesses do you have?
I have a business running a company. I started in 1990.
What does it make? What does it do?
Well, I buy and resell food as like a Cisco or a U.S. food service.
You do that now?
No, right now I am in the process of going back to school. The company...
So now you don't do anything?
No, the company still exists. I'm collecting my accounts receivables and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the process. I have real estate I'm selling. I do various different things.
Who do you live with?
I live with my brother right now. I'm in the process of selling my real estate.
You're in a process of doing an awful lot, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you in the process of going through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am.
Did you go through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Did you ever apply for a bankruptcy?
No,
Did you
ma'am.
ever consult with a lawyer about a bankruptcy?
Yes, I have.
When?
I consult with my lawyer in September, August, September, October, just discussing...
September of 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
About the same time that she was asking for some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you consult with an attorney about a bankruptcy, sir?
I'd just gone through a divorce that, you know, the settlement of property had to be dispersed. I had loans with my company, just seeking my different options, you know, out there. It was discussed, but it was never gone through. I'm in a process of selling my assets to pay debts. That was my choice to do it that way. You know, I want to make sure all of my bills are paid. That's why I'm selling my home, other real estate. I have a $1.5 million piece of business real estate that I'm in the process of selling.
What's the mortgage on it?
$790,000.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in June of '04.
In whose name is it?
It's in my company's name.
Which is?
Paradise Produce Company Incorporated.
Who else is a partner in Paradise Produce?
Nobody. I'm
current on your mortgage payments?
Not at this time, no. They are in the process of being sold right now.
Is there a contract for the sale of the property?
Yes, there is a contract for the sale of the property. It's pending on other things, you know, that's going on in the community. So,
You got a lot going on in your life, Mr.
I'm a very
Rowell.
active man.
You're got a lot going on.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so she asked you for this $1,800, and what did you do, sir? I just wanted to get a sense, because I have to figure out who's pulling my leg and who's not.
I wrote her this check out from one of my bank accounts. I have numerous bank accounts because I have personal things, business things, and all that. And I actually wrote it out to her name and put loan on the memo. I handed this check to her on September 26th, and she took it, and I said, you can go right down the road and cash this check at my bank.
Where did you give it to her?
I gave it to her in the shopping center parking lot. I met her in Del Mar, Delaware, on the Delaware side. So that night, she called me back. She says, well, I don't think I can cash this check. I've lost my license, and I don't have a current checking account. I said, well, you can go right to the bank and cash this. I said, I made it out to you, and there's money in the checking account. She said, no, I'd rather you go to the bank and cash a check. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, but I would need this other check back. So the next day, I went to Laurie. This is my witness, Laurie Collins. Can I bring her forward, Judge? Or?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of John's.
What kind of a friend?
Close family friend for over 30 years.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went by Laurie's house. I discussed it with Laurie. I said, Laurie, I'm going to probably loan some money. I have loaned some money. She wants me to take the check back and go to the bank and cash the check and give her the $1,800. And Laurie said, well, just make sure that you keep this check here, the first check, if she gives it back to you.
First check is of no value.
Right.
Unless I can test for fingerprints on it.
Right. And then the second check is, I wrote her name in the memo that I cashed this check. Here's
Yeah, well, that's what you wrote.
And I went to the bank.
You cashed the check and wrote her name in the memo.
Right. So I told Laurie, I said, Laurie, I have loaned this lady some money. I said, as a friend, I just wanted somebody to know that I had loaned her the money.
Was she there when you gave her the money?
No, ma'am.
Good. Sit down.
And at the time I wrote the check out, I have bank accounts with different amount of figures in it. You know, right now, $25,000 on this. If I needed it, she claims that I needed the money for myself. I don't need it.
Just show me the account where you took out the $1,800.
Yes, right there.
Okay.
Your Honor, he states that the first check that he wrote me, he had $1,800 in that account. That's the check he first gave me. I subpoenaed his bank records. $1,800 was not in there. He had
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. He had $72.79 in that account.
Can I see that check, please? Sir, you wrote her a check on 9/26 for $1,800. You didn't have $1,800 in that account.
Right.
On which you wrote this $1,800 check.
Right.
Well, why would you write her an $1,800 check and tell her to go?
Because I was going to make a deposit in the account. I moved money from different checking accounts. I have interest-bearing accounts with my business and everything like that. I move money when I need money to pay bills like in the
but you
business.
didn't move any money here, sir. You didn't move any money here. 3 days later...
She gave me the check back because she said that she couldn't cash it.
I understand that.
Because she didn't have a
Listen
license.
to me.
Yes, ma'am.
That was not the same day, sir. You already testified. It was the next day that she called you and said, I don't have a driver's license, and therefore I can't cash this check.
Right.
Now, you had already told her to go and cash the check, which she could have done on 9/26.
That's right.
Okay? On 9/26, if she went to your bank
Yes, ma'am.
and deposited that check. They would not have cashed that check because there was no balance in
They
that
could have
account.
moved the money from my business account, which is with the same bank, to cover my overdraft.
There's no overdraft privilege in here.
I'm sorry, I did lend this lady some money.
Go ahead.
He also says he gave me the $1,800. I was leaving that day to go out of town for a wedding. I was running around getting my nails done, my hair done. He didn't give me $1,800.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start out with the conversation that you had with him about Lisa.
There was no conversation about Lisa. He knows she was in town for maybe a week or two. She moved back to Florida. I don't have a checking account. I don't have any checks. I haven't had a checking account in 3 years.
So you never had a discussion with him about a loan?
No.
Never had a discussion with him about giving you any money?
No.
Why do you think he would make up this convoluted story?
Your Honor, his business account had been frozen because he owes so many people money. Okay? He couldn't even make payroll. John and I continued to talk. We were good friends. He wanted me to help him take the money out of his county bank and put in a safety deposit box, put in my name, and he wanted to put the cash in there so they couldn't touch that money. Then I told him I didn't want to be involved in that because they're going to want to know where this $21,000 is. I didn't want that in my name. I didn't want any part of that. He tried to get several people to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
So what you're saying is he tried to get several people to accept checks?
Yes.
From him?
Yes.
And squirrel away the money?
Yes.
In the event he decided to go through this with this bankruptcy?
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I mean, he says in one statement that I was supposed to pay him back in 2 weeks. John and I continue to be friends. He had a surprise birthday party for his brother. I was invited.
Don't tell me. Just tell me about the money.
There was.
When you told him that you didn't want to participate in this scheme,
yes,
what did he say to you?
That he had a couple other people that were thinking about taking the money and putting it in a safety deposit box, storing his personal property so it wouldn't be auctioned off, which it has been.
What personal property did he want to store with you?
Pool tables, big screen TV, four-wheeler, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, I mean, bedroom suits. He had a 2-story house fully furnished. All that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
At whose?
I guess at his request. I really don't know. I know that his house was for sale.
Did you have an auction?
Yes, ma'am, I did. To pay my debts and everything. The pool table, big screen TV, all that stuff was auctioned off to pay debts that I incurred during the divorce. I am in process of selling 2 pieces of property, a business piece of property, all my assets to pay my debts. I am not filing for bankruptcy. I am
Well,
going to
it's
be
a little
paying.
more difficult now to file for bankruptcy,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, because what you're suggesting to me is if you own a piece of property that's worth $1.5 million and you have a $790,000 mortgage,
Yes, ma'am.
if you file for bankruptcy, you're not going to see any of that money.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to see any of that money, if you pay off your creditors now, then you'll be able to maybe walk away with a couple of $100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm not going to walk away with anything. My assets are about $2.2 million. I owe about $2.1. So, time I pay auctioneers, you know, realtors, all that stuff.
So it doesn't pay for you. So you have assets of $2 million and you have debts of about the same. So you can't go into bankruptcy. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It just means that you have to go to work. Business people, you have mortgages, you have attorneys, you have
Right.
all kinds of other things. And you're not unfamiliar with court.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you come to a court and you say, I made a loan to this lady. Put your hand down. I made a loan to this lady. I did not memorialize that loan in any way. This check is of no value.
Right.
Because she never endorsed it. I can take out my checkbook and write out a check to Petrie Hawkins Bird in the amount of $10,000 and say, I gave him this check.
Right.
He gave it back to me, and I gave him the 10 grand in cash. And this is some evidence that I gave him that money, right?
Right.
I didn't give you any money to that. No. So this is evidence of nothing.
Right.
The only evidence that it is, sir, is that she subpoenaed this bank account, which says at the time you allegedly wrote this check out to her, you didn't have sufficient money to cover the check in the bank.
Right.
Now, you did have another bank
Yes, ma'am.
where you could have written a check that would have cleared.
Right.
As a matter of fact, according to you, you did just that 3 days later. You didn't go to this bank, where you could have moved money around. He went to this bank where you took out $1,800. All of this leaves me with a very uneasy feeling, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I have a very uneasy feeling, sir, the fact that you brought a witness that says that you told her all about this loan is of no value. So, Mr. Allen, it is possible, just possible, that you loaned her $1,800.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You understand my problem with your proof, sir?
I understand. I understand.
Are you sympathetic with me, sir?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Vicky Madure claims former friend Becky Seifert ruined her credit by not paying on credit cards she helped her get.
Ms. Madura, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yes.
Who had terrible credit. And it is your claim that you were trying to be nice to her and she have a credit card. If you would take it out, make her a co-holder of one of the cards. You did that for her. And the understanding was the bills would go to her and she would take care of the bills. And it is your claim that subsequent to that, she wanted to buy a motorcycle. And again, you agreed to be a friend and you co-signed the loan for the motorcycle with the understanding that she would make the payments promptly, which she failed to do. You subsequently found out that not only had she taken out the one credit card, but because she had all of your information, she took out a series of credit cards and built up a balance of thousands of dollars. She was also behind on the payments. She was behind on the payments on the bike as well. As a result of that, your credit, which had been pristine, took a dive. So you're suing for two things. You're suing for the return of the motorcycle to you, or its value, so that you can sell it and get out from under the payments. And second, you want damages for her ruining your credit. Ms. Seifert says that she kept her end of the bargain. She has paid on the motorcycle, although she acknowledges she doesn't pay in a prompt manner. She pays when they threaten her. That's not what she says, but I gather that's the case, that when they threaten to either sue her or repossess the motorcycle, she makes a payment. That still doesn't positively impact on your credit. And she says that she kept her end of the bargain by making the payments on the credit card. She also says that you opened up all these credit cards for her, not just the one that you say, but all of the others. When did you open up this credit card with her as a co-card holder?
Probably around June of '05, and there was only one card, and if there was all these credit cards...
No, just don't, you don't have to answer for her.
Okay.
You opened up one
June
credit...
of '05.
And with what financial institution?
MBNA, MasterCard, and both our names are on it.
And as far as you know, that is the only card that you authorized her to get?
Yes.
With your information?
Yes.
How many cards did she get using your information?
4 or 5, counting the second MBNA she took out, that she succeeded. I have documentation.
I'd like to see it, please.
Your Honor, there was only one MBNA card. There wasn't two.
I have how many?
There was two Chase. There was one MBNA.
No.
Ms. Seifert, how many cards did the plaintiff agree to take out in your name?
Ma'am, I went to creditcards.com with her information
listen
because...
to me. Listen.
We never determined a number. The cards that I had, that I used, several of them were mailed to her home, to her address. I didn't go to her house and steal those cards.
Ms. Seifert, you don't honestly expect, coming here today, that you're going to get over on me,
no,
right?
I don't. I'm
Good.
just telling you.
So then let me ask the questions and don't skirt around the answers, because I'll take you and I shake you, and then I get the answer.
Okay.
You came to the plaintiff and asked her if she could take out a credit card and put you as a co-holder on a credit card so that you would have a credit card to start to build up your credit. That's what you asked her, I assume. Is that right?
She offered.
Well, how would she know that you needed it, madam, unless she knew that you didn't have a credit card?
Because we were going on vacation together, and we were talking about finances for vacation and the things our kids could and couldn't do.
And?
And I explained to her that I did not have a credit card with much credit on it.
That's okay. Good. So she agreed to get one credit card. Now, after she got the one credit card in June of 2005, when did you apply for the other credit cards?
I did it all at the same time on creditcards.com when I got the one credit card.
Just a second. I told you, don't play with me.
I'm
smarter than you are. You just said to me, I got the other credit cards on creditcard.com after I got the one credit card.
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what you just said. I have a tape.
The one time on creditcards.com, and several cards were mailed to her house, and she knows that.
Don't tell me what she knows. Why did you take advantage of a situation where she said she would get you a credit card?
It was very bad judgment on my part.
Now, credit cards, did you use them to make purchases.
Yes, I did.
Did you pay all the credit cards on time?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Then you ruined her credit.
Then I signed to be responsible for all of them.
Just
all the
a
papers
second.
she asked me
Just a
to, and
second.
it was taken off of
Listen,
her credit.
Listen to me. You show me where, once you signed a piece of paper to be responsible, because so far you're irresponsible, it impacted positively on her credit. Show me.
I don't know where it acted positively, but she was even told it was taken off her credit after the affidavits were signed, and I also have 2 receipts for $6,500 we've paid her.
Just a sec. For?
Towards the credit cards.
Well,
and
you didn't
towards
pay it
money
to her,
owed.
you paid it to the credit card for
No,
things that
we
you
gave
bought.
it directly to her to take care of it.
Doesn't make any difference, madam. Don't you get it? Once you become a deadbeat in the credit card world, you don't automatically become not a deadbeat just because you pay the credit card. You remain a deadbeat.
But they said that because they called it
Don't tell me-
fraudulent, it would come off of her report.
So you acknowledge that you fraudulently
No,
applied?
she made me sign those papers because if I didn't, because I'm on probation, she was going to call my probation officer, which she threatens to do all the time.
Sounds like a great idea to me. Now, let's get to the motorcycle. She also co-signed a loan for you for a motorcycle. Is there any reason why you did that, madam?
I was trying to be good-hearted, which I will never do again.
You have children?
Yes, I'll never even co-sign for my children. I've learned a lesson the worst way.
Okay. Now, do you pay for the motorcycle on time?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Which means that you have destroyed her credit.
Yes, ma'am, I probably have with the motorcycle.
Good. Now I'd like to see what papers you have.
They asked me to bring, I brought a picture of the motorcycle. She wants the motorcycle back, but the title is solely in my name. So if she wants the bike back, she's going to have to get my name off the title that she lets ride that bike, and she's not capable of riding it herself.
Just a second.
And then I have a
When
statement
did
now
you-
that shows that all my payments are current.
You make your payments late.
Well, I mean, it shows that I'm current right now.
I don't care whether you're current right now. You make your payments late. Can I see the title to the motorcycle, please? When did you co-sign on the motorcycle?
October 05.
How much have you paid on the motorcycle?
I've made all the payments except the one she made, and I
How
paid
much
her back
do
for
you
them.
pay?
$250 a month, ma'am.
How much is the loan?
She owes, right now, there's still almost $12,000 owed. Right here it is. $11,818.42 owed.
Who are you?
Becky's boyfriend.
Stand up. What do you do for a living?
Run a rubber mill.
You earn a living?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you refinance this motorcycle?
I already have one in my name.
So what?
I don't know, ma'am.
What?
This was between them.
Well, I understand that, but you live with her. You sleep with her.
Yes.
So why should she be on the hook for her bad credit?
She was having trouble with her credit way before us.
I'm
I mean,
asking you a question. I just said to you, she sleeps with you, you live with her. Why don't you, the two of you, refinance this motorcycle and get it out of her name?
well, I've got too much in my name right now with my house, my cars, and my motorcycles. So
Your motorcycles?
I have 2 motorcycles, yes,
Well, why don't you sell one?
because I like them.
Yeah, but you have a problem. You live in a home with this lady, and she's got a problem. So why don't you
Right,
help her
and-
fix it?
Well, I did. I took out a 401k loan and paid off the credit cards that she had with her to help her out. I mean,
What does she do?
Huh?
What do you mean, huh? What does she do?
What does she do?
Yeah, what does she do?
As far as
As far as a livelihood.
she works in a doctor's office.
She make a living?
Yes,
So why doesn't she refinance it?
Your Honor. I don't know.
Why don't you refinance it?
I can't get it just in my name, Your Honor.
Well, maybe you can get it in his name. He owns his own home.
Well, we haven't tried that, but the last time he tried to get a loan, they said he had too much credit out.
Then why don't you sell the motorcycle?
I just haven't found anybody that'll buy it. It's not worth what we owe on it.
Now, she says she wanted to sell it. Her problem was she couldn't get what was owed on it. So you would have no problem signing it over to her, right?
As long as it's out of my name, I have no problem, and I've told her that
Fine,
before.
absolutely perfect. Have her sign this over to her,
That's
please.
a memorandum title, ma'am.
So?
But that is not the actual title.
I understand
Okay,
that.
that's
The
what I'm
actual
asking.
title has a lien on it. She can do it. As a matter of fact, we'll prepare that
Okay.
order that you'll sign.
That's fine.
Good. Now we know that this is now your motorcycle. We will prepare that order. Now you're suing her for $3,000 because in addition to the return of the value of the motorcycle, you want damages for ruining your credit, right?
Yes.
And hopefully the $3,000 that you're suing for that will help compensate you for the loss that you're going to suffer on the motorcycle. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very good. Judging for the plaintiff, in the addition to the order that this will now be in your name, subject to the lien, judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Thank you.
Tanya Blishak is suing her former co-worker, Julianne Rouse, for startup money to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Miss Blishak, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant worked together in a hair salon period of time, and in addition to your regular work, you were making some money on the side selling Mary Kay Cosmetics. You tried to get Miss Rouse to become a representative for Mary Kay and claimed that you sold her a quantity of product. You put it on your credit card because she asked you to, with the understanding that she would pay the credit card bill. She paid some, but not all, and you want the balance. Ms. Rouse says that you sort of pressured her into becoming a representative. She paid you back a total so far of $1,400 for the product that was purchased, according to her, without her consent. She stopped selling the product. She still has 6 boxes of it at home that you're welcome to have because she says she's paid enough.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I sold it for about a month.
That's a fib that you just told me, because you told me a moment ago that after a month, so that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Blishak says former co-worker Julianne Rouse owes for a loan to buy Mary Kay Cosmetics. Julianne says the makeup was forced on her.
When did you start to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics?
September of 2001.
And what percentage do you get of what, for instance, Miss Rouse would purchase from Mary Kay?
At the time, I did get 13% on her order, but I would like to state...
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I just want to say that I explained to her completely and full detail that she does not have to order any inventory whatsoever. It is for her benefit to have inventory if she wants it, so that she can give it to her customers when they buy it from her. That's completely her option. She doesn't have to do it, and she chose to do one of the big ones.
When did she purchase this product?
In April of '04.
And how much did she purchase?
She purchased a $2,400 order.
Now, tell me under what circumstances you financed her order of $2,400.
It was with my credit card.
Why?
She had been a customer as well before, and I had no problems with her financially. She paid her orders. There was no problems. And she wanted to get started with a business. She said she didn't have a credit card and you can't pay cash. And she wanted to do it, and I told her that I would help her out. She was going to pay me back the next month, and we were going to be done with this.
From where was she supposed to get $2,400?
I don't know.
Who do you live with?
My husband.
Have any children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
7 months.
And you were working full-time?
No, ma'am.
Part-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I wasn't working for a while. I was going to school, and then I went back to work part-time at the salon. And at that time, my fiance at the time were living with roommates, so we didn't have our own place.
So when you purchased this stuff, Miss Rouse, it was your intention to make this a part-time job?
Well, I was working part-time at the salon, and then I left there right about the same time this all happened to work full-time at a travel agency.
So was it your intention to work part-time selling Mary Kay Cosmetics?
At that time, yes.
Who selected the product that was purchased?
Miss Blishak did.
Without your input?
I didn't input. She did it online, and she ordered the things that she thought I needed at the time. And then about 5 weeks later, I needed different products. So I had to place another order on my own to get the products that I needed for my clients.
So you were, in fact, working?
For a little bit, yes.
So why didn't you finish paying her for the product?
And in the beginning, I did not want to sell the Mary Kay. She kept asking me to join. I thought if I joined it, it would be over and done with after the $115. So then after this, I decided that I would try it out.
Well, that's what she's talking about.
And she told me when she did this that I would be able to pay her back in a month because you would make so much money selling these products within the first month, as she did. At the time, I couldn't do that. I was working full-time.
Well, that happened later. Miss Rouse.
Within the same week,
Miss
it happened,
Rouse,
ma'am.
listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something about buyer's remorse, which means that at the time you thought it was a good idea, and all of a sudden it didn't look so good after it was done, as opposed to someone who fraudulently sells you something. I'm not getting the sense that Miss Blishak sold you anything fraudulently, especially since you ordered more product a month later. And you paid her $1,400. She paid you $1,400? When did you stop paying her?
August was the last payment I gave her.
And you were paying her prior to that time because you were selling product?
I sold it for about a month.
Or more? Because that's a fib that you just told me, Miss Rouse. because you told me a moment ago that after a month you ordered more product to sell to your customer. So that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sounds to me, Ms. Rouse, as a case of you didn't plan on getting pregnant, you planned on working full-time, you planned on selling this part-time. It all didn't work out because you left a part-time job, went to a full-time job, then you got pregnant, then you stopped working. Are you working now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You better start selling some Mary Kay cosmetics because you owe her some money. How much does she owe you with interest on your credit card?
$1848.02.
Can I see that, please? Why does she owe you $1848? What kind of interest they charge you on your credit card?
It was 12.9.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You have 6 boxes of product left?
Yes, ma'am. I have a list of everything I have.
Good. You better start selling it, Miss Rouse. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,848. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Natalie Holtz claims ex-fiancé Thomas Parrish owes for breaking their lease and for harassing her over the phone. Thomas claims he moved out because of Natalie's constant nagging.
Miss Holtz, it is your claim that Mr. Parrish, who was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time, owes you some money for rent and also for harassing you. Mr. Parrish says that you're actually the one who's bothering him, that he contributed to the rent while he was living at the apartment with you and your children. But when he moved out of the apartment after a disagreement, he stopped paying rent. He's not on the lease. He feels no obligation to pay rent when he's not living there. Okay. When did you move into the apartment with Mr. Parrish?
After we got engaged. We got engaged December of '05.
Did he give you a ring?
Yes, he did. I have it with me.
Okay.
And I even went with my mom and bought a wedding dress, and I bought my daughter's dresses. We were going to have a ceremony on the beach. And
when did you move in together?
Mid-February of '06. And he went with me to the leasing office. When we went to fill out the forms for the application fee, which was $150, and to transfer within the same complex to a 2-bedroom, that was $500.
So you had a 1-bedroom apartment with your 2 children?
Correct.
Where were you living, sir?
I was renting a house in Chesapeake, which is about 35 minutes from where she was living.
Okay, so you weren't living together in the 1-bedroom apartment?
No.
No.
I'm looking at him.
Sorry.
So you moved into the 2-bedroom apartment in February of 2006, and the lease was in your name only.
Correct, but we had discussed, we had an agreement that we would rent the 2-bedroom together for 1 year to save up money to buy a house for after we got married.
Good.
And he paid half the rent for 10 months.
Right, I got you. While he lived there.
Right, correct.
And he paid the rent faithfully, half of the rent, despite the fact that he's only one person out of 4 living in the apartment, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, but they were minors.
I don't care if they're minors or not. He's one person out of 4.
Correct.
Living in the apartment. You get child support for your 2 children?
I get for 1 child because he has them half of the month and I have them half the month.
So you get child support for 1 child?
Correct.
How much?
$400 a month.
Okay. And he paid half of the other expenses on the apartment for the 10 months that he was living there?
Yes, he did. He paid half the utilities.
Half of everything?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, what happened when he moved out?
He didn't give me any notice. He just...
So you must have had a disagreement.
We got into a fight.
About what?
I had asked him to do the dishes, and he was watching TV.
Just, you've got to get a turn.
And I waited about 2 hours. He still hadn't done it. So I went ahead and did it. And I got upset with him. I said, thanks a lot for helping me out around the house. You know, you eat on the dishes too. And he said, well, I was going to do it. I didn't know there was a time limit. And he started yelling at me. My youngest daughter was home. He was yelling in front of her. So I'm like, well, I don't want you yelling around her. He said, well, then I won't. And he went and packed. Where are you going? He's like, I'm moving out. He gave me no notice. I said, what do you mean? Are you going to a hotel room? And he's like, no, I'm moving out. I'm not coming back.
Ms. Holtz, there must have been some clue to you prior to that things weren't going well.
We had had a few disagreements, yes, about...
So things were not going well?
Correct.
Well, you don't want your children to be involved with that sort of hostile environment, do you?
No, but he had only yelled one other time in a year and a half. And
well,
it wasn't
fine. That's fine.
Day occurrence.
That's fine. You don't want it to get any worse, do you? You don't want your children in an environment that's not healthy.
No, that's why.
So that it would be a shh. so that it would be a good idea that he left.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
But I felt he was obligated for the last 2 months of the rent.
Where are you living now?
I just moved to a smaller apartment that I could afford on my own.
Just a second. How much rent was this apartment that you moved into together?
$1,203 a month.
And how much was the rent in the apartment that you had been living in?
It was $988, the one bedroom, and my new rent is $895.
So the difference in rent was $200 a month between the one bedroom and the two bedroom.
Right, but if we wouldn't have gotten engaged, I wouldn't have gotten that apartment. I would have gotten something I could afford on my own, Your Honor.
I look at objective things. Objectively, you were paying $1,000 on one, and this is $1,200.
And I knew I couldn't afford it if I didn't have a roommate, or if we hadn't gotten engaged. I would have gotten a smaller apartment on my own.
Good.
And I also have bank checks for the transfer fee and the application fee, which he agreed to pay half of. And I also have harassment. I want like $1,000 for phone harassment. I have phone records of him calling.
You mean after, just a second, Ms. Holtz, do you mean to tell me after he moved out, because he said he wanted it over?
Correct.
He started calling you? You didn't call him?
No.
Just a second. Just listen to me. You just listen to me. You didn't call him?
No, Your Honor.
He called you?
Yes, and I have tape recording of it, calling me terrible names.
You never called me.
Just a second. Mr. Parrish.
Yes, ma'am.
When you left, sir, it is your claim that Miss Holtz called you.
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say when she called you?
She called me a lot of adjectives that I won't use here, and I left. The reason I left was more than just the dishes.
Go ahead, sir.
To back up and give you some background of just that day, I won't be long-winded. It was a Sunday morning. I had some work to do. I was going to do it early in the morning. Instead, I put that work off until the afternoon. While she laid in bed, I did the dishes, fed the kids, cleaned the kitchen, did 2 loads of laundry, put all that away, spruced the house up while she's still in bed, asked her if there's anything else I can do before I went and did my work. No, everything's fine. I went away and worked it took me about 3.5, 4 hours. I came back.
What kind of work did you do?
I'm a small contractor.
Go ahead.
It took about 3.5, 4 hours. I came back. The NFL football playoffs were on. I watched the second half of the first game. The next game was the Dallas game, which I'm a huge fan. She knows that. I sat down to watch that. In the meantime, she had gone in the kitchen and started going off about everything. I had left a Walmart receipt on the counter from where I bought some groceries the day before, which I bought my share and then some of the groceries for all 4 of us. She started griping about the receipt on the table. You know, why'd you leave this receipt here? You want money from me? I said, did I ever ask you for money? Is this why you left the receipt? She on and on and on. This goes on for over an hour.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Shh, don't interrupt him.
After the conclusion of that, she goes and stands in front of the television, or not directly in front of it, but right beside it, hand on her hip, and says, you've watched one football game, now I expect you're going to sit here and watch another one? And I looked at her and I said, yeah, I'm going to watch another one. You know, I'm a Dallas fan. I'm going to watch the game. And she said something, and that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got up. I had some shirts and some clothes in the apartment. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm leaving. I've had enough.
Your Honor, he never works on Sundays. He hates working on Sundays. He did not go to work
Your Honor,
day.
I'm a...
What difference does it make whether
Because
he went
he's
to work or
lying.
not?
It's showing that he lies.
I did go to work.
Ms. Holtz, if something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And what doesn't make sense to me is I listened to him only for a couple of minutes, and I've made a judgment, because I'm usually good at making judgments, that he's not a nut.
Thank you.
You haven't heard this.
Oh, I don't think he's a nut. I think maybe he was stretched to the limit, but I don't think he's a nut. And I think when he left, he probably would have left you alone. But you started bugging him because you were angry, just as you are angry right now. You are so angry right now, you can't even contain yourself.
I'm just nervous, Your Honor.
You're angry. You're still angry.
I'm angry at what he called me, yes. He called me very vulgar and obscene things, and I don't deserve that.
I'm going to ask you again to answer my question and answer it honestly. After he left that day, who called who first?
He called me.
First?
Yes, he called me 27 times.
Just a second. So what did he say, Miss Holtz, when he called you after he left?
He said that I only think about myself, that I'm a self-centered, and I can't repeat what he called me. And yes, I did call him once. I asked him for my key back.
Just a second. My question was, who called who first?
He called me first. I have the phone records.
You have a phone record that shows all your outgoing calls?
Yes, I do, but his is first.
Great. Let me take a look at what you have. Put a mark next to where you called him.
I'll put a star where I called him. All the other check marks are him calling me.
Just go back to the beginning.
The beginning is where he left on the 6th.
What's your phone number, sir?
286.
At your mother's house?
That's my cell phone. That's the only.
At your cell phone?
It's the only phone I use, yes, ma'am.
Well, on the 6th, madam, 286 is outgoing.
It says incoming.
Outgoing, outgoing, outgoing. Then you have a couple of incoming. But on the 6th, I want you to point to where I've checked this off, please, and let her look at it.
All the highlighted ones. Okay.
I'm not talking highlighted. Look at where I made the check marks.
That was in the afternoon. He was still home. Or he was still, he hadn't moved out yet. That was in the afternoon.
Why would she call me?
The next day. It's the next day when he started harassing me.
Listen to me. What? Okay, give it back to me.
Incoming, incoming. These are all incoming.
Miss Holtz, you don't want me to think you're a nut, do you?
No, ma'am.
On the 6th, according to you.
That night.
I'm speaking. You called him at a time when you said he wasn't out working, because you said he doesn't work on Sundays. So clearly, you called him at that cell phone number, 216, 252, and 252.
Yes, he went to the grocery store.
So what'd you call him 3 times for?
He called me, and I called him back on several occasions.
So he went to the grocery store for whom?
For all of us. We all had to eat.
So he was out on family business?
Yes, before we got in a fight. Yes, ma'am, he was.
After I finished working.
Just a second. Okay. Then the next phone call on the 7th of January was a phone call from you to him at 8:09 p.m. and he called you back at 8:29. You called him first. Then you called him at 9:10 p.m., 6:59 a.m., 7:30 a.m.
He wouldn't return my call to get my key back, Your Honor.
Please.
And I have the text messages right here of all the incoming text messages.
Okay, Miss Holtz, I'm
going
to listen to me, madam. You got to get over it. Get over it.
It's okay to call somebody the B word and the C word?
Get over it. Sticks and stones break your bones. Names will never hurt you. Did your mother ever teach you that? You have to get over it. It's finished. You may be angry. You may be angry that you devoted 10 months of your time to him. He may not have said nice things to you. I mean, you can tell.
I've had 24 calls since the 9th on here.
Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm looking at your phone records.
I don't have them.
You called him first.
To get my key back and my mailbox key back.
Change the lock. What? Go ahead.
I just want to clear up a couple of things. You've done a nice job of clearing up the harassment. First of all, I don't understand her suing me for ever how much she sued me for, $1,200, $1,300, whatever it is. I could understand if she was going to sue me for bigamy. I could understand that, because in that pretty little head there's about 12 personalities.
Mr. Parrish.
This is what I get on messages.
Mr. Parrish, listen to me. Not necessary, sir.
Okay, I just letting you know.
Let him show his true colors.
Not necessary.
Okay.
She may be stressed. She's a single mother.
She's a good mother.
She's a single mother. Takes care of the kids. Money, I'm sure, is tight. I'm sure it was much more comfortable when you were there.
I understand.
Much less stressful financially when you were there. You're not there anymore. A life she anticipated is over. But I don't think that you're responsible for any rent when you weren't living there. I think that you took care of more than your fair share of the bills when you lived there in a family that was really not yours. You left. The responsibility is hers. She was angry. And these phone records do not support harassment on your part, sir. I mean, common sense dictates that if you left, you would have been just as happy to be left alone. Period. But very hard when you are stressed to deal with that kind of change. I get it. But you're not entitled to any money, madam. The case is dismissed. That's
Your
all.
Honor.
That's all.
हाँ जी सुते उठे हैं तो बाल खिल रहे हैं
मैं तो कुछ और ही समझ रहा था
ते आज अपना व्लॉग दिन टाइम बनेगा आज साडा यार एक चिंतू ਆਪਾਂ ਆਏ ਬਸ ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਨਹਾ ਸ਼ਾ ਕੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਦੋਸਤੋ ਨਹਾ ਧੋ ਲਿਆ ਵਾ ਤੇ ਦਾੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਬੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਵਧੀ